Yo, it's your boy Rush. I'm in the building. I got two special guests with me. I got Seven and Miss Oshun, aka Lola, and we gonna politic on how crazy the dating scene is crazy right now, right? Um, my first question with Seven, right, as a dating coach, right? What's your thoughts about the madness that's going on in this dating scene right now? Talk
That's a
to
good
me.
question. Super good question. I think that unfortunately, social media has taken on a huge presence and influence on the minds of people that are out here trying to find romantic connections, and people are just dating wrong. The values are misplaced, preferences are misplaced, standards are misplaced, expectations are misplaced, and too many people honestly love listening to other people about what they think they need in their life, right? So, people are all over the place. I think that men and women are very lost right now. And it's just creating chaos. I mean, the dating pool is a cesspool. And realistically, the other thing that's really killing the dating game is that everybody's trying to look for love online. Everybody's on a dating app. And that creates an impossibility because you have way too much going on in the palm of your hand to really focus on what's really in front of you. So the whole organic way of meeting people and being able to interact and engage and talk is like is done, is gone, right? So just to begin with, and if that doesn't sound bad enough, that is like on the surface what's really killing the dating scene right now.
Where I totally agree with you on that. I think like social media has kind of like killed the interaction between both male and female. Due to the Instagram, Facebook, especially Facebook. Facebook is like the number one killer that kills most relationships. Know what I mean? Because everything's out in the public. You might like a picture, your significant other might trip about that. Know what I mean? And that's just one of those things that makes it a dirty game. But some of us playing this dirty game that we call the dating scene. Know what I mean? Yo,
Well,
sure,
I
man,
mean,
what's up?
the dating and being in a relationship is two different animals, right? But I will have to agree with you to your credit. Social media is playing a huge role in messing both things up because when you're looking for love, right? You're looking for connection. You're trying to look for people. People are online shopping for humans like it's Amazon, right? You're just scrolling, 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 and it's too much. But when you're in a relationship and you are on social media, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, doesn't matter, people start getting into this world of wondering, curiosity, comparison, offending their relationship, and it just makes both things horrible right now. So people got to get back to the drawing board and reassess their own values and what they really want. And that's the other thing, love, is that most people have no clue what they want or what a relationship truly needs to look like. So if you don't know what you're looking like, you don't have nothing to work with. So I mean, it gets a lot more deeper than that, but I'm just talking surface for right now.
Okay, okay. I could dig that. Know what I mean? Um, like, cause here's the thing, right? Like, like, okay, when it comes to like, the dynamic between the male and female, right?
Right.
Like, there's a movement called the red pill movement or whatever. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, yes.
Right, right. And they have a they ideology is basically stay sucker free. Cause a lot of these females out here, you know what I mean? They wolves in sheep clothing. They play niggas out here like fiddles out here, man. You can't even front.
True.
Cause I see a lot of dudes doing sucking shit out here, you heard? Know what I
No,
mean?
I get it. Like, right. The whole word simp, right? The whole I don't want to be a simp. I'm not trying to be played. I don't want to be a simp. Listen, a lot of women, right? A lot of women in today's world have taken what they want to experience from all the crap that they've seen in times past that they don't want to experience. Right? I'm 48 years old. I just became single again, and it was not for a bad reason. It was actually me being on a whole other podcast that I realized that I'm holding down a man that I truly don't want to marry, and I had to be real with myself and him. And I think that reality is that that's one of the things that people are struggling with because reality is that women don't want to give and love and you know, submit and do all the things that technically us women love to do and are supposed to do for all intents and purposes. And we don't want to end up like our aunts, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers. Like, we know the story. We saw it. We saw our mothers. We saw our grandmothers. We saw our aunts, right? And so we don't want to go through that. We don't want to end up like that. So I think what's happening is that men are trying to figure out their way through like this whole freaking thing that women are doing, saying there's a certain price I'm not willing to pay to be with you or to date you or to give my time to you. And there's a big misinterpretation of what that looks like because women are creating some unrealistic delusion or expectations of that, of what that looks like for them. Because women are going out, they're paying for bodies, they're paying for hair, they're paying for makeup, they're paying for degrees, they're getting big houses and big cars and big money. And so for them, I'm investing into me. And so if I got to go through all this crap, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to curse because, you know, I curse on my TikTok, brother. If I'm going to go through all this, right, then I got to make sure that you're going to invest into me on the same level I've invested into me. The dilemma is that women are creating delusional expectations, right? And it's not all women, but a lot of women. And it's because they just don't really know what they're supposed to be looking for. So behind it all for men and women is fear. Women are afraid to get cheated on, played, abused, all the crap that we've been through and seen good women go through. And on the other side of that is men are like, well, shit, I'm scared to get played too, right? Like, how much am I going to invest into you? And I'm not going to get that good woman that submits and is going to cater to me and spoil me and all the things that men are used to seeing. So there's the battle right now that's happening, right? There's a battle. And so women that got it going on are considered masculine, and men that want to be lovers are considered simps. And that's a fight. That's a fucking fight. That's a big
Hold
fight.
on. Now you mentioned Now you mentioned about females doing their own thing, being independent, having a house, crib, and all that, right? Like when it comes to the socioeconomic status in the female that's on a high level, she's not going to have the ability to find a decent mate because she does not have the ability to link up with a male that's not on the same playing field when it comes to the income. Know what I mean? Because like it's hard for a female to date a dude that's working at Mickey D's, but a dude that's already caked out, he gonna holler at the pretty young chick that's
right?
working at Mickey D's. Know what I mean? And I think that's one of those things that your quote unquote boss babes don't really understand. They can't grasp in it because the older females and the younger females, y'all competing for the same dudes, man. Now I mean the dude that's 6 foot, that's caked out, fly, you know what I mean? An ill wordsmith, you know what I mean? Wordplay on point. He got game, you know what I mean, and all that. So you already know how this gonna work out. Y'all gonna be competing for the same dude. Now I mean the top 10 percenters, man. Word is born.
Which most women don't qualify in terms of what they want and know what they want for those men. Those men are not checking for the majority of middle class and average women. The thing is that, and this is where women have to get with women like me for us to sit down and me say, listen, what do you want? Like, what's your preference? Because people don't know the differences between their preferences and their standards, their boundaries and their non-negotiables. People are dating in the fucking dark. So a lot of the women, and I'm not going to put the onus on women, right? Because this is the onus on everybody. Women want what they perceive they're valued at within themselves. And I love a confident woman. I love a woman that has, high virtue about herself. I love a woman that invests into herself. But the reality is that just because you see yourself as a 10 doesn't mean that the man you want sees you as a 10, right? So we got to get grounded, humble, and realistic because there's a lot of great men out here that may not be making the 110,000 baby girl that you're making, but he might be at 75 working his way up to 300,000 a year in the next 5 years if you just help him follow his plan. But a lot of women fall short of that because they've convinced themselves of their value to the degree that they think that this is the only kind of man that I want, and the kind of man they want is minimal. And most of those men don't want the women that want them, right? And so women and men, because men are doing the same thing. Men want the woman with the flat stomach, the bubble butt, the perfect body, the long hair, the exotic. They can call them poppy. Right? All that shit is unrealistic expectations. We got to get grounded and really figure out what matters. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the things that people are using as a substance to determine value That could be taken away from you in a second flat. You could lose all your money. Let's talk about P. Diddy. Like, this man is in jail, right, for maybe the rest of his life. His money did nothing for him because he wasn't a man of value if what he's allegedly accused of is true, right? And this is a man that I don't consider handsome. He had a little bit of a horse look to him. If he was working at McDonald's, most women wouldn't find him interesting, but because he was caked up, women considered him a man of value because he had influence and he was an entertainer and famous. If you strip that man of all the things that could be taken away from him overnight, including looks, like the six-pack and the beard, those men have nothing left but their character, their morals, their determination, their ambition, their value of how they treat themselves, their family, the woman that they chose. And a lot of women and men are overlooking all that. They're looking for the outside shit that really, at the end of the day, can be improved. You can't buy character. You can't buy morals. You can't buy values. We could work into making money together. We could work and get fit together. We can work and go to the plastic surgery office together. But the stuff that really matters, people are overlooking it. And this is why a lot of men and women are trumping themselves and getting caught up in these red pill movements and independent women movements. It's all bullshit. It's a facade. People are just lost. They don't know how to date. They don't know how to pick a partner. So you got to take a step back and really figure out for yourself, what does that really mean? And until you figure it out, you're gonna hit a dead road every time. Every time.
Okay. This is gonna transition to my next question, right? Like, the dudes that's able to afford to leave the country and go find something out the country, do you think most women are going to have to worry about that? Because that's kind of like of a big movement, the whole passport bro thing, and seeking for a wife out there overseas and all that. Like, to me, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
The little blue man, the little blue passport man.
What happened?
The little blue passport man. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not taking shots at him, man. I'm just, you gotta take a shot. Now,
yeah,
man, salute to all the passport bros out there.
I am. I'm gonna dig into the guts of men that do this and think that they really flexing. Because listen, let me keep it 100 with the men that think that they're doing something by leaving the country to find a woman. Listen, women are extremely savvy and manipulative as needed. Let's not hide that. Women, we get things done accordingly. And what happens is men out here in the United States that got perfectly great women right in their community, right? They don't want the challenge of what's going on right now because they just don't want to deal with the quote-unquote independent woman. I don't want to deal with the woman that's going to challenge me. I don't want the woman that's going to uphold me to my highest being. I don't want all that. So let me go to another country where I perceive that this woman is struggling, where I perceive that this woman, maybe she's not struggling, but maybe she's going to be super submissive, super catering, the Dominicans and the Asians and all the women that are perceived to be the extra caterers and submissive and will spoil me and bathe me and all that bullshit until you get them here. You're going to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars through immigration to get them to the U.S. In the meantime,
hold on. Yo, pump the brakes. You're going too quick. I got a next question for that. I got a follow-up for that. I'm gonna hit you with an alley-oop with that. What are some of the signs, like, because it's a thing where dudes go to DR trying to find a wife and all that. Right. So what's the red flag for a chapeador out there? Because most dudes is not hip to the game. What happened?
What was that term you used?
Chapeador.
¿Qué es eso? What's that?
You already know what that is, man. Come on.
Nah, I never heard of that.
Gold diggers out there.
Bring me up to date. What's that?
Well, it's a thing that I thought you Dominican, right?
100%.
That's a term. That's a term you guys use all the time when y'all call a female gold digger.
Oh yeah, I never heard of that term. Chapeador?
Yeah, chapeador. They call them choppies.
Choppies?
Yeah, they call them choppies. But anyway, man, like, what are some of the red flags dudes need to watch out for a gold digger out there in DR?
In any country. Now, it's not just DR. In any country. The red flag is you boarding the flight to go over there and do what you're about to do. That's the red flag. Because, listen, it doesn't matter that they live in DR. They got shit going on in DR. They know the game, right? So all they're looking for is an exit to get here. Once they get here, they're going to take advantage of the resources here. And 99.99% of all the men that I've coached that I know, including my own father, that brings a woman here from DR or another country gets left. You're going to spend thousands of dollars to bring her here. You're going to spend money sending her money while she's over there waiting for all this immigration stuff to go through. And in the meantime, you're taking care of her and her man out there. But when you get there, she's going to play the game.
Hold on. It's not just the man. Like the mother be into it.
Taking care of everybody.
You taking care of whole fam out there.
Absolutely. And when it's all said and done, she's going to marry you, right? She's going to spoil you. She's going to cater you. While her eyes are open to everything that's going on around her. And when she figures out her master plan, she's done. You were a ticket to what she believes is a better outcome to what she got going on in the country where you found her. So I tell men all the time, this is not a remedy. This is you escaping that you don't want to do the work. Men just don't want to do the work. That's really all it is. Men don't want to do the work. I still haven't met one man. Not one man that has been successfully married to a woman he brought from another country.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I can't really speak on this stuff in the country. I will say this: the men that's going out of the country, they would have to speak on that on their own. And I don't really see a lot of men going out of the country and bringing back wives and having a conversation on panels and stuff. It's almost the only I see the complete opposite. Men going over there just, having a cake and eat it, doing anything and whatever they want to do with what they want. It's not really a matter of building families. But I would say that the reason for them going over there isn't because they don't want to stand up to, or they don't want women to hold them to a standard. Right. It's just women in the United States feel like they became subject matter experts in knowing what a man's supposed to be with standards whenever they don't even. That's not how it was intended to be. If a woman is to be submissive, she's supposed to be educated on what his standards is, and then she decided to submit to that. But nowadays we got a group of women that's largely increasing over time that wants to create standards or curate or mold a man into having a particular standards that they want to, adhere to. It's everything that was intended intended for men and women has been lost. Back in the day, if you go back in the days in the Bible days, if you were a Christian or just biblically sound, you would see that they had standards in the garden, and the woman wasn't even down with that. So it's not a matter of a man not having standards. It's a submission issue and a compromising issue and a cooperation issue, and men aren't willing to deal with that. Especially now, you got women adding 6 figures on top of that. Now you got to have these standards that I want you to have, and you got to make a certain amount of money. And they're not even taking in consideration that the passion the man has or the occupation he has doesn't carry that level of finance or that level of salary. It may just cap at $60,000, but that's what he loves, enjoys doing. But we punch down on those men because it's the salary level. We're not even thinking about his own feelings. Like maybe he enjoyed working as a train conductor or an oil miner or a UPS driver. Maybe that's his passion. Maybe he gets a kick out of delivering packages. But you push down on him because he don't have a certain salary. That's the society we came to. It's a lifestyle. We sold out the whole essence of what marriage and relationships were supposed to be for a lifestyle.
Copy won't get you anywhere.
Okay.
Brutal.
Can you guys hear me? Rush, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, Lola.
So, this isn't to say or take away from anything anyone on the panel has said. I think 2 things can be true at the same time. I do agree that, to your first question about dating, that dating in 2024 is vastly different and very challenging versus in 1967 and so on. Obviously, we don't have to go too far into the vast differences in the economy, the role of relationships that has morphed over the last 6,000 years. However, and I don't want to get into the issue of, well, what women think and what men think. I am a woman and I'm not a monolith. People can look at my lifestyle and think I'm one way, or I think one way, or whatever, and be like completely off. So I don't want to get into that, more so as much as I want to say that and excuse me if I'm going to get a little historical here, but the Industrial Revolution changed the face of humanity in ways that we're still grappling with. And what I mean by that is this: human society was based on our biological imperative. Having children was the business of survival. The Industrial Revolution changed that, in which now machines was doing the hard labor, and now we could have differences in class based on who was smarter. But we still had manual work labor as a let's say the majority of the workforce. Like, it was manual labor, but now there could be differences in class in a real way. Not so much you were born to this family, thus you're in a different class. That is what the Industrial Revolution did. However, at the same time, people don't understand that humans do not evolve that fast. Our biology, our psychology does not evolve that fast. And I'm talking about this happened over the period of under 100 years. It took hundreds of thousands of years for us to become what we are. We literally changed in a way that's going to take another 100,000 years for us to really biologically be in sync with. So what we're doing right now with what you're explaining, which is women having to grapple with the biological imperative of wanting the best and brightest man to pass on his genes to, versus the reality of the society we live in as far as like the economics, like that right there is like a math equation that really doesn't have a real answer. It has an approximate answer, but never a real answer, because it doesn't make any sense. We are wired as women to go for the best men, the top 10, top 1%, because that's what nature wants. Nature wants us to ensure that only the best men get to pass down their genes. I'm sorry if that hurts any of your feelings, but that is what nature has wired women to think. It's only in recent years that women can even have the ability to stop and say, let me look at his personality and what he wants for himself. If he doesn't want to spend his entire day in life doing manual labor in the field, and he want to use his mind and will be creative in another way, let me focus on that. It's only within the last couple years that we even had the opportunity to think like that. However, our bodies are still moving based on how we were created from the very beginning. So the only thing that's separating us right now is our ability to literally be human, meaning to make decisions above our instinct. My instinct is to ask a man, can you handle me plus anybody else that we add to this? Yes or no? That's my instinct. However, I have to think above that now and say, you know what? Given the situation in this country and his race and his ballot and his health, this is what I'm dealing with. So now I got to make concessions here as a woman to ensure this. That's a lot. That's a lot on men to do, because they're not biologically wired to sit and play that role, really. Women are not biologically wired to play the role they're playing. They just luck out in that they're taking jobs that are more intellectually sound, whereas men traditionally have taken more manual labor jobs. And it just so happened within the last couple of seconds, everything switched. And now the highest paying jobs are the intellectual jobs that women just so happen to be good at taking versus the manual jobs. That's nobody's fault. But at the end of the day, it's going to take hundreds of years for us to really get this wired out of our system to a point in which we're working like, and it's no challenge. But it's going to be a challenge for a long time. So I don't want to berate that point. But what I want to say today, in terms of what I think is a linchpin in dating, is phones. Take away phones off of dates. Just take the phones off, meaning don't bring a phone to the date. No pictures of your food, no video footage letting everybody know you living a good life, none of that. No phone calls interrupting you for business or whatever. None of that. You have to ensure your babysitter is a good babysitter, because you ain't gonna have no phone on your date to check in and do video calls and all that. And when you're bored, you're gonna have to make conversation. You're gonna have to listen attentively and look like you're
Can we
interesting.
can we switch to the social media thing after we kind of like hash out
I got you.
what you call?
I
Because I
got
don't want
you.
to lose the
So,
train of thought.
no, I got you. So that's where I was going with that. So when you that's my opinion. Take away the phones, and now you'll force people to have to do something other than focus on what they look like and what others are perceiving them as. And that's where I think the social media comes in. However, I'm not going to sit and say social media is the problem. No, social media only exposed what we really were. People that want to take pictures and be seen for something that we're not, because we're not happy with who we are. That's what social media did. It's just like anything. It's not a gun don't make you a killer. A gun just gives you the ability to do what you already was going to do anyway. That's it. Seriously. So I'm not going to get on a bandwagon and say, social media wasn't posting around pictures of da 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 da. Unless you are under 21 years old and really gullible like that when it comes to pictures and images, and you don't have the ability to think above what's in front of you, and maybe you're a little young, I'm calling cap on that. Anybody under 21, sure, you're still influenced by cartoons and images. People 40 years old, 30 years old, no, I'm not accepting that. But you can keep saying that to your detriment of having no dates and no relationships. And I don't even think we even going to get into the issue of marriage, because we don't really get to marriage often in society to even talk about what you guys slightly went into as far as submission. But I'll land my plane there.
No, Lola, let me ask y'all this. Do you think us in the society, right?
I wanted to respond to what she said, because
All right, go ahead. Do your thing. Go ahead.
So she said something about the way women were wired to go for the best, the top one, the top 10, top one. It wasn't when a woman says this is the way we are wired, that's a method of dodging accountability. You were never wired like that. You chose to be like that because you have a choice to choose. There was never, back in the day, if you want to go back, you never had a choice. A woman was supposed to be chosen by a man. She was supposed to be passed on by her father. She was covered. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a matter of you looking at men standing on an assembly line and choosing the best one. We made it like that. We died on Omaha Beach so you can have that dream. We went to World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, the Cold War, so women can live in a utopia and choose to be able to pick men out from an assembly line, the best. It was never a thing about you wired like that. You were never wired. Let me make my last point. You were wired to be chosen and submit to that man. It was a deviation that allowed you to choose. You know, when you were supposed to be originally a helpmeet to a man that found favor in you, and then he got approval for your father. We got a lot of women running around here with no covering, no father, and they making the choices on their own, and they wondering why they're getting into relationships where they're not thriving, and they ending up as single moms or ending up divorced or failing altogether. But it wasn't a matter of you being wired to be hypergamous or go after the 1%. That's a choice you made on your own because of the.
Can I go after something?
Let me say this.
Go ahead.
The word wired, can be interchangeable into a lot of things. But I'm going to disagree on a portion of what you're saying now, because realistically, and I'm going to agree with you to a degree, because you are absolutely right. There was a time where women were chosen and they were sort of, what we call properties of their fathers or their religious leaders. A lot of men that should have been fathers were missing in action. So no, a lot of women didn't get to experience this thing called a man of dignity, respect, morals, commitment. But what ended up happening by the majority is that a lot of women that were chosen and married and stood at home because they didn't have the ability or resources to supersede what a man could do for her, right? Provide, provision. These men, by the majority, failed because they began to have families out of the marriage. They began to abuse women. They began to neglect women. They began to disrespect women. And when you are in a space where you are dependent on this thing called a marriage, a man, a relationship, and you were entrusted by this person who was her father or whoever her authority was, whoever raised her, because not all women were, you know, with their fathers. A lot of men, like I said, especially in our community, were missing in action. So when a woman had to pay that price to say that I was chosen and now I'm a wife and a mother, but I'm abused, I'm neglected, I'm disrespected, I'm cheated on, I have to have this mistress put in my face and these children that don't belong to me and my husband, and she's talking to that woman, and then we find out that this is a global thing, then it's going to have to change, because that is not the price that women want to pay to end up in that space, right? So at some time, at some point, when you are beat up, and I don't mean just physically, you're going to end up coming out fighting, because any group of people that have been oppressed don't do it because they're treated with respect and dignity and honor. They do it because they're being oppressed from happiness and peace and dignity and the right to just be a happy human being. So if I'm going to be married to a man that chose me just to be in this miserable, deplorable relationship and situation, but it's not just me, it's all these women I'm talking to, and we're experiencing the same thing, we're going to come out fighting. And when we came out fighting, we had to change the game, because now if I have to pay the price at the level of being cheated on and in disparity and abused and exhausted, and this is what it is that you call me submitting, I'm not going to do that no more. So now I am going to raise the bar. I am going to raise the standard for the kind of man that I want, because I need to choose my safety, the safety of my children, my peace of mind, my ability to operate at maximum capacity as a mother, as a woman, as a daughter, as all the things that I am in my community, but including to myself. So if I got to do all these things and I got to do it by myself, then I'm going to keep the bar high for this man so he understands that I want to give all this to you, but not at the price you want me to pay, because I've already done that, or I've already seen it happen too much. And it's not valuable.
So what you just
It doesn't
Well,
serve
well,
us.
can I speak off?
what you just did was you changed the whole dynamic of the topic. I
No,
was referring
reviewed.
to
I'm telling you that I don't
I
agree
was
with
ref
how it
I
was.
was refer
What it was,
I was
didn't work.
referring to hold on, I'm sorry. I was referring to the intent of a relationship and how men and women came together to even have a
But what
relationship.
I'm saying is that that dynamic didn't
Hold on
work.
real quick.
The dynamic didn't work.
Instead of you speaking on that, you went all the way off the road, all to the cause of the
I didn't
relationship
go off the
failing.
road. You
You
made it
went
clear that
you went
women
to
were
you
chosen, right? That's what you said. Women are
you went to
chosen.
you went you
Women are given to the man by their father and entrusted.
instead of focusing on the selection process and the intent on what man and women was supposed to be, you went all the way to the ending
What
result
I'm
on what
saying to you
causes
is
the
that
relationship to fail.
listen,
We
you
haven't
made it
even got to
clear.
the topic. We
But
haven't
you
even
made it
got to the
clear
topic.
what women and men were supposed to be, and I'm saying to you
We
that when we
well,
tried
I'm
that,
just
it
saying though,
didn't
I'm
work.
just saying that what y'all do is when somebody make a point and put you in the corner and you're on a heel, what y'all try to do is y'all try to vacate the point and go to a whole
No.
different topic
I
and
don't think I
argue from that
vacated the
angle.
point,
Whenever
love. I
we
think
not
what
even
I was
talk,
that's
the
not true.
topic
I think what I did was
the,
I gave you the
the
reason why
exchange we've been having
we
for the
get to
past
choose.
15 minutes was not even about the ending result of why relationships fail. We were talking about the initial intent for men to be with women and how the dynamics were supposed to be
Right,
historically.
but the
You jumped
dynamic
into
didn't work.
the
That's what I'm trying
catalyst
to
on why
tell
the
you.
relationships
The
fail.
dynamic didn't work. The dynamic of what you're explaining, sir, didn't work.
It
Because
did work.
no, it didn't work. It did not
It
work
did work.
because
Only a
no,
small
it did
percentage
not.
of
Because
it's only a small
listen,
percentage of people
if it
that
worked
fit that,
so
that fit
well, if
fit
it
the stuff
worked
that
so
you're talking
hold
about.
on for a minute. If it worked so well, why did we have to fight to get out of it? You think that happy women that were loved on and protected and provided for and adored and men that were monogamous and loyal, you think these women are going to wake up one day and just say, you know what, I don't want to be happy no more. I don't want this loyal, amazing man that's providing, that's showing up, that's actually being the man he promised my father he would be to me. I don't want that. Fuck this one. I just want to be an independent woman. I want to work 40 hours, 50 hours a week. I want to raise children by myself. You really believe that that's what happened to women? You got to
I
look
know
at
for a
cause and
fact the
effect.
numbers don't lie.
Cause
It ain't
and
about what
effect.
I
The
believe.
numbers
It's
don't
about the
lie. But
facts.
that's my
It's
point.
only
The
a
numbers
small
don't
percentage
lie.
of men and
The
women
numbers don't
that
lie.
had
The numbers
relationships that
don't
go through
lie.
the things that you're
This is
talking about.
reality, and men
Everybody wasn't
struggling with
doing that.
reality. This is
There
the
were more
reality.
marriages succeeding than failing, and when you, especially if we talk about the 50s and 60s, marriages was succeeding at an all-time
All
high
right,
in that time.
yo, let's let Lola chime in real quick because she wanna give her 2 piece on this too. Go ahead, Lola.
Hey, Thanks, Bruiser, and I'm sorry to go back if you did cover this because I was listening attentively, but I wanted to respond to your initial statement of the wiring of women. Now I do know Seven did address, let's say, the obvious point in terms of women's wiring. However, I want to kind of speak to you about what you specifically said. You said that women, you as a man said that women are wired to be chosen. Now, can you explain biologically in a scientific way that we all can understand what you mean?
In a scientific way. So I don't know what you mean by a scientific way, but the way the premises of what I made my statement from was a spiritual way. It didn't have anything to do with nothing somebody learned in an institute or a college. This was all scripture. This was all the teachings of God, the will of God, what man and women was made of. And if you want to really get down to it, science is actually knowledge. So one could argue that the Bible is knowledge, and knowledge is science would mean that the Bible is science. So the point I originally made was from a scientific point.
No, so Bruiser, let me say this, and I respect your opinion, right? And it is your opinion. You have a right to that. There's other people that share your opinion. I just so happen not to share it. And like you said, it could be argued. Whenever you say something can be argued, you're not speaking from a point of fact. You're not. Hold on. I didn't interrupt. Whenever you say something's arguable, that's exactly what you're saying. It can go either way. There's points on both sides. There is no definitive answer. There's no absolute yes or no. And that's fine. If you're saying a point is arguable, right? In my opinion,
the point though. I was talking about the actual term knowledge. Okay,
I got you. I'm with you.
I'm talking about the point.
I'm not arguing the Bible. I don't argue people's spirituality or their religion. So you're not going to get that argument from me. Okay. However, and I'm not Christian, but I don't fuck around, if you catch my drift. The point of the language you use, it's arguable. That's exactly what you're doing. You're saying that something's open for argument, meaning it could go one way or the other, depending on how you look at it and your perspective. That is not what we call absolute truth. That's not what we call absolute.
Again, the point that I made, the concept or the context I gave you, wasn't stemmed from the term argument. I was arguing the actual term, the term science. The science is completely different from the whole point I made about what women and men are made for.
I'm not saying it's not, okay? These are petty points. What the term mean? We all adults here. We know what the term mean. I'm trying to further elucidate another point to you, because you said that you as a man, you're telling me that I'm wired. And what I'm trying to get you to kind of see without me saying it is you don't have the positioning to tell me how I'm wired. However, you've taken the position of Christianity or Judaism or the Bible. Now, that is one perspective out of hundreds. And what I'm saying is I respect your opinion, but your opinion is based on one book, not even really one book. That's not one book, but for all intents and circumstances, one book, one perspective out of many. And so it's okay to have that. But what I will say is this. The body was made by your God, so you said, right? And the body doesn't lie. It is a machine. No matter what you think, it's going to operate how it was wired. Women's bodies react to certain men, period. That's not how I choose to be. That is what God said for me to be, that I can't not be, because God said so, according to y'all. Now, I have a difference of opinion, but I'm going to speak slightly in your terminology, all right? Now, if that is the case, if you respect what God has made, because when God says a thing, it can't be undone. That's exactly what we're talking about. The body, women's bodies respond to certain men. We have scientific, meaning proven methodology in terms of understanding if a thing is true or not. We have scientific evidence that women's bodies respond in a way that sometimes their thoughts don't respond. We have experiments after experiments for decades showing that women, when they see masculine men versus less than masculine men, their physical bodies respond differently, even if they don't even like the man. So I don't want to argue something that we all can go Google and see, or actually go inside our universities and see for ourselves quite literally. I don't want to argue that, because again, I said, I respect your opinion on that, but I did take notice that okay. I did take notice that you used the word hypergamy, which is a system that has been created. Now, you said, or you alluded to the fact that this is what God created. I would argue that hypergamy was created by God, let alone any godly man. But that's not the topic tonight. But what I will say is this: if you want a society where men hoard resources for the sake of just hoarding them, forcing women to have to compete based on resources, this is the reason why those marriages you say that was working wasn't actually working. It just so happens that people couldn't afford to do what they already wanted to do. And as women, we know our grandmothers sometimes, listen, I ain't gonna talk about the elders, but those marriages were technically on paper, but they did not actually exist in real life the way you have a relationship with your wife. A lot of relationships, most marriages did not end up like that. To say I'm in love with my wife, that was wait. That was historically, marriage is a business, not a business of love either. So it's like, I'm not saying that what you're saying isn't your opinion and it doesn't have validation. What I am saying is that if you're telling me that I'm supposed to want to be chosen, I'm letting you know somehow my body, even if I agree with you, don't agree with that. And somehow me being, let's say,
and that's why
hold on. I'm gonna land it, but I want you to hear the idea out. Hypergamy today means telling me I don't have the mental capability to have a bank account. I don't have the mental capability to literally live on my own. I don't have the mental capability to have the job I have because it involves math and stuff like that. That's what hypergamy, the system of hypergamy, creates. And thus it creates money hungry women that will get with you for your dough. And the next dude that come in with the more dough, that's the next dude she gonna get on top of. That's the system that has always created, like Seven said, that never worked. Women never appreciated being sold as children to men to be used as sexual objects. You know that is a part of human history. That is not a part of U.S. history, let's say within the last 100 years, but it is a part of human history for the last 6,000 years. So let's not play with that. At the end of the day, marriage needs to succeed based on new things now. It can't be based on old shit that didn't work.
That's what I was saying.
That wasn't the marriage I was speaking on. You speaking on something totally different.
Those dynamics don't work, and a lot
the marriage you speaking on is not what I was speaking on. We're speaking on two different things. You're talking about somebody being sold for sexual. You're talking about sexual. Now, what I'm saying, you can't tell me what I'm speaking on. You can tell me what you think marriage was for the past 6,000 years, and I can tell you something different. We'll just be fighting against context or our own perspectives. I'm not going to argue on that. What I will say is the hypergamy thing, I'm just going to dodge that, because that's a behavior that women pick up because they're allowed to.
I ain't going to dodge it. I want to smoke.
Wait a minute. Allowed to?
Yo, hold on.
But I wanted to get to the original.
What do you mean allowed to? Allowed to, the word even allowed as it pertains to an adult, because I think that this thing of women not being able to operate on an adult level, like this young lady said, allowed by who? Like, I'm an adult just like you, right? And I have to get up and pay my bills and go to work and handle business just like you. Nothing about you is so different than me that I get to entitle myself to be your dependent at 40 or 30 or 25. There comes a time where we're going from dependency to codependent to interdependent to independent, because that's what society and life and the nature of a human being is. That's how we follow through.
No, it wasn't.
So the word allowed.
It was.
What do you mean allowed by?
But you cut me off and I was trying to talk.
Right, but I'm
There
saying
was
just
never
about
there
like
it was never there was never it was never intended to be men and women was never intended to be independent. We were supposed to depend on each other. And
okay,
women wasn't supposed
okay.
to women and this thing about the body taking to something and it's scientific experiment. Somebody gave some college some money to run an experiment on some female bodies. All of that stuff is nonsense and nuances, and it dodges the real intent of what men and women were supposed to be. Your body wasn't even made. You were selected as a helpmeet before your body was
So
even
let
created.
me ask you a
So
question.
hold on, let me land my plane. It was never a thing about how your flesh reacted to masculine or feminine or whatever or any type of energy. Your body was chosen before you even was a body. Your body was dirt. Your body was a rib. And as you came alive, you was already chosen before you took your first
That's
breath.
not true.
But what?
You
Okay,
what?
so
That's not
I guess
true.
You wasn't even
That's not
breathing, and
true.
you was
what are you?
already
What
chosen.
plane are you trying to?
That's
What
not
are you trying to
true.
say?
If you go back to
What are you
Adam and
trying to
Eve,
say? Because
you
the
wasn't
initial
even
question
breathing.
was
You wasn't
the
even
initial
breathing.
Who?
question
You
was
was a
why
Hold
do
on.
women and
you
men
Wait.
was a
struggle
Hold
to
on.
thought. You
Hold
were
date
on.
and
chosen.
or be in
You were
Jesus.
chosen
relationships?
as a
So
wife when you were
what
only a
plane are
thought.
you trying to land? Because the reality is that we've already seen the dynamics not work between men and women at the way that men wanted us to be in this space called the wife. So we're just talking relationship and dating. A lot is evolved and changed because the way that it was didn't work. So I guess my question to you, brother, is, I'm not going to talk about the Bible because just like the young lady, I'm not getting into that game. But the only term I will reference to, right, if we want to go there, is a man who findeth the wife findeth a good thing. Great. The Bible doesn't say a man who findeth the wife and then makes it a deplorable circumstance, an unlivable circumstance, a circumstance of disparity is what was offered to women. There's not a human being, not even you, that's going to tolerate living in this particular lifestyle. So my question to you is, as you want to land your plane, what is your reasoning for believing that men and women today are not able to get along, or that women are bringing up their standards because it's coming from something? Women didn't just wake up one day. Men didn't just wake up one day and change the dynamic of how we interact. Because I dated in the 90s. I'm almost 50. I dated in the 90s. I've been married. I know what it is to have to go through the process of it. The courtmanship on both parts, not just the man courting me, but me vetting and courting him just the same. Because regardless if you choose me, I still have the right to say I don't want you. I don't want to be with you, right? Just because you choose me doesn't automatically mean that I'm yours. Because I too have to make sure that I'm vetting you to make sure
Well,
that you are going to be the man that you're
let me answer
promising
your
you're going to
question.
show
The
up to
problem
be.
is,
Unfortunately, a lot of men didn't do that. They didn't stand their
okay,
post.
I don't even know if
And
you got
so
a
women
question.
now are changing the way they want to experience dating, relationships, and marriage. And men have to evolve and understand that that is something that occurred because of the way that historically women were treated when they were in these types of dating or relationship or marriage situations. So what is your belief that a dating scene or relationship should look like? Because take the word submit, take the word cater to, take the word cooperation out of all
Well,
of that.
you want me to
Because
answer
today's
with
men's
all this fluff? It's
mentality
not gonna
is
work.
not
I'm
going to
gonna
cater to
erase
that mentality
all of the
anymore. Like,
fluff
this
and
is
the
not the
narrative you keep
dynamic that
adding,
women are
and
going to
it's not
submit
gonna
to
help.
anymore. Because again, the price that women have paid and are continuing to pay to be called a woman that submits and caters and spoils her man, the outcome is not favorable for her. It doesn't serve her. So when a man is the kind of man that shows up, he's a unicorn. He's above average. The average man is not able to
Hold on.
be
So
all
what
the
is your
things that a
question?
man
Because
promises women
it
to
doesn't
be.
sound like
And
you
a lot of
asking a
women
question. It
struggle
sounds like you trying to
in dating,
lecture.
relationships, and marriage. Now, I'm not putting all the onus on men. I'm just saying that you have to you got to take accountability, or not maybe you, but look back in history. You have uncles, right? You had cousins. You know other men, and I know that you know plenty of men that did women completely dirty that were good
Yeah,
men. So
that's a
how many
small
men are
percent.
going to sit
You're
and
arguing a
receive what is
small
going on and
percentage of
say, you know
men
what?
that
This
it's a small
roadmap to the
percentage of
skin
men
for
has done
relationships,
that.
dating, and marriage has to change. I do want to love you. I do
Okay,
want to
so what is
submit.
your
I do want to
question?
cater. All
You
the
had a
things you men
question and
adore
you
out
went
of a
on for
woman.
another.
But I'm saying that you got to realize that there's certain prices that women are no longer going to pay. And if men can't get with those times and just evolve with the way that things have changed, we're going to always be at odds. Women do have to
No,
be
no,
accountable
it
for
ain't
certain
gonna
choices.
always
I
be
get
a
it.
odds.
There's
Men
women
are
that are
gonna still
choosing
be able to
dating
get the
quality
woman
men.
they
I get
want.
that. That's all
Y'all are
true.
gonna die
But I'm
alone.
saying to you,
The
brother,
issue
Oh,
is
what is
the
it that
issue
you
is
don't see that was
you're
occurring
talking
from
about
the
dating and
past
courting.
that has
You
affected what's
answered
going on
you
today?
answered your question earlier
Outside of social
already
media,
when you
outside
said
of
back
technology,
in the
outside of
90s you
all
used
the
to date
ways
and
that,
court.
women and
First
men
of
have
all,
changed, just
you as a
because our
woman lack
economical status
discernment.
changed,
You wasn't
society
even
has
supposed
changed.
to be
A
out
lot
there
has changed.
dating in the
What is
first
your belief
place.
as to why it is that men and women,
So you asking
women
all these questions,
specifically,
but you won't
are
let anybody
refusing to
talk.
cater, submit to men the way that they used to.
You lack discernment.
Because
That's number one. You
ultimately,
lack
that
discernment.
is the
That's why
problem. Women
you
don't
lack
want to
discernment. So you
experience it the way they
already
have
fighting a
experienced it in
losing
times
battle,
past.
getting out there trying
And
to
I'm
date
speaking
and
from
get
personal
courted.
experience
The
as
issue
a
is
woman.
you got a lot of
I'm not
women out
doing
here
that
that's
again,
trying to
right?
date
I'm
and
not
they
gonna
don't even have any
position myself
intelligence
to be this
as far as
incredible
vetting
woman
and the
to
selection
get cheated
process,
on. So I
which is
gotta
why you're
change
supposed to
the
be
way that I'm
covered by a
vetting. I
man,
gotta change
a
what I'm
father,
after. I gotta change my
a
preferences, my
pastor, a
standards.
mentor, an uncle,
Because if I
somebody who
don't, then
has
what
the
do men
results
say?
or
Learn how to
give
choose
you the
better.
display of a
So it
marriage
shows
that
that
you
we
want to
still
have.
don't win no matter what direction we go in. So if we don't choose better and we do take the man that has
But
told us,
and
yes,
this
in
is
the past I cheated a
this
lot.
is the
Yes,
thing
in
that
the
Kevin
past I
Samuel
was
said. You
kind of
can't make
physically
this up.
abusive. Yes, I don't
You
make
answer the question,
70, 80
but
grand. I
you
make
can't
50,
even
but I'm
accept
working
the
my way
answer.
up.
You got
So
to
okay,
need to
I'll
be
date
right.
you. I'll give you a shot. I'll get in a relationship with you. I'll get in marriage with you. And then when this horrific man finally shows up, you're gonna come tell me choose better. So then when I choose better and I raise my standards and my preferences and my non-negotiables, now you're saying that I'm going up too high and I'm not accepting the man that's slightly under me as you consider value in a man. So you got to get, brother, that at this time, times have changed.
Well,
Women have
yeah,
evolved. We're
you
here
didn't
now. We've
account for
arrived, right?
the
It
lack
doesn't
of
mean we
you
don't want to
didn't
love you.
account.
We're just saying
See
we're
what
not
you
going to
did
love you
was
the way that you
you
want
did
us to love you
what you
at the
did
price
was
that
you
we've been
talked
paid.
about why the
And if
relationship
you men
failed
cannot
based on
understand that,
his
then we're going to stay
shortcomings.
in challenge
Yo, hold on, hold on.
because
I got a question for.
you were the provider.
Hold
I'm
on,
coming to
yo,
you.
yo,
You're
hold on,
choosing
hold on.
us. You're
I
coming
got a,
for us. You're
I got a
pursuing
question
us.
for
You're the
Seven
one saying,
and
I want
Lola.
you in my life. I want you to abandon your home, all the
Yo,
things that you can
Seven,
have for yourself
Seven.
as a single
I got
woman.
a
I
question
want
for
you to
you.
come into my world,
I
eat
got
at my table. I want you to live on my
Lola.
promise, my dreams, even to the
I'm
people that
here.
have said to you,
I'm
I
here.
approve of you being this woman's man or her
I
husband.
mean,
And so you got to be
Seven,
prepared to
Seven.
understand that you got to show up. So if you don't show
I don't
up
think she can hear
and you
me.
disgrace all the things you promised us, do you really believe that that woman that now has to leave you or divorce you is going to repeat history? No, she's going to change her game. She got to figure out how to do it different so that the next opportunity in a relationship or in a marriage can serve
And
her
that's the
or serve
problem.
both.
You
But
just
as a
said it.
majority
She's
of the stuff
supposed to
that women
figure out.
have
It
gone
ain't
through,
supposed to be one
brother,
person trying to figure
it's
this
not
out.
serving us.
A woman is
It just
supposed to
hasn't been
work
serving
under
us.
a
It
covering
really
of
hasn't.
somebody who
So,
helps her
so
with
what's your
discernment.
perspective?
The
Like,
fact
why
that
do
you're
you
trying
think
to say
women and
that
men, or why
you
women are
supposed
raising
to
their
go and figure it out,
standards?
you already shooting yourself in the foot by trying to go out here at it
And don't, if
alone.
you can, don't use the word allow, because we're all adults. We can allow ourselves to choose how we
Yo,
want to love. That's
yo,
part of being an adult. What is it that
yo,
you believe is the
Seven,
reason why
Seven and
women
Lola. I got
aren't
a question for
increasing the
y'all.
bar? Why are they holding men to a higher standard?
Yo,
Why do we want
can you
men
hear me?
that are operating at a higher capacity on all levels, not just money?
And
I
they
don't
need to be
know.
right.
I don't know.
Where do you
Need to
think
be
that's
right.
coming from?
You gotta be
Yo,
right.
I got a question for you and Lola. Do you think there is a low percentage of masculine men, and that's why the game is like a
Can't hear
total?
nothing.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Yo, Lola, y'all can hear me, right?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
Okay, I couldn't hear you guys.
yeah, I
So
kind of figured
hopefully,
because you was
hopefully I didn't do all that talking in mute.
right,
No.
word, word.
All right, good.
All right, yo, my question for you and Lola, right? Do you think there's a low percentage of masculine men, and that's why the game is totally messed up now? And if so, like, I want to give me your thoughts on that. Talk to me.
No.
I'll go and I'll say no. I don't believe that there's a low percentage of masculine men, and I'll qualify that. I'm sorry. Masculine is what masculine is. Masculine is not what America sold it as in the 1950s. That's not what masculine is. I'm not saying what masculine is not, or definitively saying what it is, but what I am saying is that sometimes people think, well, a type Bruno type of guy, that's a masculine guy, or a guy that's willing to commit a lot of crimes, that's a masculine guy. That's not necessarily masculine for what nature has called it, or let's say said it to be. So I don't believe that there is a lower amount than it ever was on this planet. But I do believe that I do believe that culture has dictated more, let's say, traits of masculinity that's more desired based on whatever is going on in said culture at said time. For instance, if you lived in, I don't know, Moscow in 1714, you see what I'm saying? Masculine looks a lot different than if you live in Tokyo in 2024. Like it's just different. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we pick and choose what's best for us based on what we need, and that is to a large degree natural. Your body picks and chooses based on what it needs from the food that you eat. It don't accept everything that you give it. It only accepts what it needs. But it doesn't mean that your food isn't substance. But that's how nature works. It's not going to take what it needs, and it's not going to evolve for what it doesn't need to evolve to. That's what evolution is. So no, I don't believe, to just kind of round it off, that there's any more amount of masculine men than it ever was. I just believe that masculinity has different roles now, and based on the culture you're in, is based on which roles kind of play more of a part in what we perceive as masculinity and what's needed than others.
Yeah, I think she's right. You know, there's a lot of popular terms floating around on the internet. You know, we have feminine energy, masculine energy. You know, you have all these terms that people are living into, and they're creating new identities for these type of people that, you know, women are too masculine, men are too feminine. So to her credit and to her point, I don't think so. I don't think there's such a thing. I think that we all have our preferences and our standards of what it is that, you know, will serve us. And some people are a little bit on the delusional side. Some people are aligned with their needs and their wants and matching up with a good partner. But I don't believe, you know, that there's more or less masculine men. I don't even believe that, you know, that can exist to be able to say it like that. But I mean, a good question.
Okay. Yeah, because, you know, it seems like, you know, it was kind of getting spicy in here, man. But I like that, though.
Listen, you can't have a New Yorker and a Bronx chick all in one, a Dominican and a relationship. I'm fiery. Don't take me personal.
I like
I'm
that. I like that,
fiery,
man.
you
I
know,
like that shit getting spicy. You heard?
I'm
All right, my next
passionate
question.
about what I do, and you know, you see my TikTok. I don't know if you see my YouTube, but I've been through some stuff, right? And at almost 50 years old, it was a huge wake up call, right? I had to realize that I'm doing a lot of things that I shouldn't be doing. I'm making a lot of poor choices, and it's all because of what I don't know, right? And so when I get a little fiery and sassy, brother, don't take me personal. I'm just really passionate about people really evolving and changing their perspective, because here's the reality. It is what it is. Things have changed, and people are fighting the current so aggressively that they are, you know, isolating themselves from the possibilities of finding and aligning themselves with good people. There's a lot of great men out here. There's a lot of great women out here. And unfortunately, too many people just don't want to be realistic or do the work that it takes to get into this thing called relationship and love and date properly. Well, a lot of people are going with the flight of the kite. Like I always say, you're dating in the dark. And there's no good outcome to that. People are really genuinely lost. So, you know, when somebody hires me to say, hey, I want to date again, I've been divorced 2 years, or hey, I just broke up with someone, what did I do wrong? This is all work. It's perspective. You got to take a step back. All this, my man, and I just want to be in a relationship, and I just want me a woman to cook and clean for me. None of that shit means anything, right? At the end of the day, what is it that you're really after? Sit down with yourself and really create a list of what it is that means something to you, because how you see you is not how everybody that you want is going to see you. So like I said earlier, sometimes we just got to take a step back and reanalyze how we're pursuing this thing called relationships, because it does start with dating. It starts with courtmanship. It does start with a conversation. And if you can't get past that, then you might as well just accept Singleville for quite some time, even if you're happy or not happy in that, because you have to be intentional with what it is that you're pursuing, like anything else in life. Like you don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I want a new career. I'm not going to look into it. I'm not going to research it. I'm not going to study for it. I'm just going to go out there and apply, and I'm going to submit a resume and go. No, people don't move like that. So why do that when it comes to relationships and dating? You really, really have to make sure that you understand who you are, right, and what you want. And then also be realistic in understanding that everyone you want is not going to want you. Right? Like I said earlier, you might think you a 10, but that man you want may not think you a 10. And now you're taking it personal, walking around with this cloud of rejection, which can cause bitterness and frustration and anxiety and sadness and all the shit that comes with today's world.
Can
you
I
gotta be
speak,
realistic.
please? Because I'm not that long. You know, I'm gonna say what I want to say is gonna punch down, and y'all can take it from there. But what I will say is the lady, I'm not gonna say point no name, but whenever you make statements like all these things that you want or desire, characteristic traits or personalities from a potential partner that you plan to marry don't matter. As a woman, you out of order because
I never said it doesn't matter. When did I say that?
hold on. You said all of that stuff don't matter. That was
I
your
never
word.
said that.
You did. You
No,
can
I never
rewind
said.
it later,
I
Russ.
never
She
said
said
that.
she
I never
said
said it doesn't matter.
you
I said
had
that
made a
people.
series of statements, and at the end of it, you
No,
said all
I'm
that
saying
stuff
that
don't
people
matter.
don't know what they want. People are dating by the flat
No,
of the
but
pie.
see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. When a man chooses a woman, he sets the terms on what he wants. Those
Okay,
things matter because he's supposed to
I
be the
agree.
head and leader, provider, and protector.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
thing about the issue with women is they want to dictate the terms that a man's supposed to have preferences for, or he's supposed to accept from a woman. Basically, these women are exposing themselves to being unimpressionable. And typically, whenever they have traumatic experiences with relationships, they come from man to man, they become more unimpressible.
Okay.
So now they have terms, now they have standards that you're supposed to accept, which is wrong.
So
Basically, when
you're
these
saying
men,
we
when
shouldn't
these
have standards. You're saying we shouldn't
no,
have
when these
standards.
women, you should be able to recognize the standards of the man and be able to find favor in those standards. And
Okay,
if you
but
do that,
what if the man that's trying to choose us, what if his standards are deplorable? What if they're disrespectful? What if they're unrealistic? Like if you and I
well,
were
they,
to
well,
have met,
well,
right?
here's the thing.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead,
So
and go ask a
let's
question.
say me and you met, and
Yo,
you
RP,
picked me,
I read
right?
your comment, man. My bad, man.
Let's say we met, and you wanted to pursue me, and okay, I want to choose this woman, and you brought yourself to me with all these characteristics of you, right? All these things that make up who you are on all kinds of levels. Are you saying that as a woman, I should just automatically agree with who you are and what you're offering to me because you're a man? I don't have no say so in my life as to what I get to
What
choose
I'm saying is,
can serve me or not serve
what you should
me,
do.
just so I can understand your statement.
What I would say is you would find a man that has the same traditions and principles of your father or whoever's covering you. For example, if I'm spiritually driven or I have biblical principles and I want to talk to you, you would check that first and be like, okay, look, maybe he seems good. Let me introduce you to my father or somebody who's covering me, and then that man will help vet. And then you make, and then if he approves, then that's when you go and start dating and try to figure out if you're gonna go into a long-term committed relationship. Because there's a discernment gap with women trying to go out here and vet men. You know what I'm saying? They're leaning on their feelings. They have all these breaking points from deal breakers they picked up from traumatic experiences in relationships previously. Man, they become unimpressive. So they have all these unrealistic standards and stuff. You got to rid yourself of all of the past experiences you've had and become renewed. And the way to do that is to get covered. So whenever you fail, you go back to a man that your father, your pastor, your mentor, somebody. And I understand there's a lot of women that's coming up that don't have a father. So
Right.
you have to go and find a mentor. You find a family, a couple, a man and a wife that you're inspired by, that you want the same results in your own life. And you introduce people that you find favor in a date to those people, and they can help you vet. That's how it's supposed to do. We was never supposed to go at this alone. Never.
So
That's
are
why
you? Okay, so
everything's
let me ask you this: are you the man? Because you just said we weren't supposed to go at this alone. Are you the man also bringing that woman that you're trying to choose to someone that's important to you, that's helping you with your discernment? Because reality is that a lot of men don't know what they're looking for. They think they know what they're looking for. They were told what to look for, but they personally don't know what to look for. So
exactly.
when
And
you're
what I
saying we were not, are you doing the same as men, saying, hey, sister,
yes.
mother, grandmother, let me introduce you to this woman, right? Because realistically, you're right. A lot of women don't have that male influence. A lot of us lean on female influences because there's not, it's not common in our culture to have but so many positive male role models. A lot of
Well,
women
this
don't
this
have
is this is
amazing,
how it
powerful
works
role
for the
models.
men. It works totally different for the men.
Right.
And I have a child. I have a business and stuff. I do this on a weekly basis. I help women find a man, and they bring me men in a group consultation, and I give a evaluation on the dude, and then I'll have a follow up, and I'll let her know like, look, no, this dude ain't for you, or this dude is for you. But for men, it's different.
Based on
I-
one consultation, this is how you determine if he's good for this woman or not. Just one consultation.
yeah, I can do that in one consultation.
Nigga, RP, hell no, I wouldn't do that, man. Come on,
I don't
man.
find that to be a
Bugging.
feasible method of a woman allowing herself to be, letting
But see,
a man
the thing
choose
is,
her.
the thing is,
Because
he's got to be capable.
men are very great actors, just like women can be. So, men have perfected, like a lot of women have perfected the art of being someone else for quite some time. They'll give you an Oscar nominee edition of them, and then
Yeah, we don't.
at some point
We
that
compensate.
you can't tell that in one consultation. You just can't.
We account for that happening if we understand people be on their best representative, and then they
Yeah.
change in the future. We
Yeah.
account for that. That's why we don't waste time dating and courting for so long, and we get to a point. I'm telling you, once you start talking about marriage and long term commitment, you literally root out anybody who's not there intentionally trying to be with you for marriage. That actually destroys that whole finesse. But for the men, it works totally different. I don't tell men. I don't go and find women for men. I tell men, okay, what are the outcomes you want? What traditions and principles do you believe in? And I hold them accountable on it. And if they're following those traditions and principles, then I would say, look, yeah, you should go and find you a wife now. And then they would find her worthy. And I say, you should talk to her father. You should talk to whoever's over her to see if you can get his approval. That's how that works. I don't tell them to bring women back to me. A man is supposed to go find favor in a woman, and she's supposed to submit to him. That's where that ends at.
Okay. So with you saying that, what is her basis of submitting to him? What's the basis of that?
Well, and this is what I tell women. What do you believe in? First, I ask them, what do they believe? They believe in most cases, they believe in the Bible. It's some that believe in the Quran and other things. But most of them believe in the Bible. And I ask them, I said, how well read are you with the word? And I really know the scripture. And I know how a man's supposed to lead. And he's supposed to submit to God. And I say, well, if you see that in this man, if it's evident in this man, the biblical principles and traditions that you believe in is evident in him, then he can lead you. But if you can't see that in this man, you don't need to be bringing him to your father or mentor or person that's
Got you. So
because then you'll be unequally yoked.
So how do you think a woman would develop the discernment and the know-how to even consider bringing a man or any man to another man that is of influence to her if she doesn't have her own standards and discernment that as an adult woman she should have by means of doing the work? And to your credit, let's get rid of the trauma.
She shouldn't be trying to be entertaining man.
I'm saying, how is a woman to know or have enough discernment to meet a man that wants to choose her as his wife, according to what you said? And now she has to make a determination, a choice to bring this man to another man that she calls a male positive influence. Could be anybody, like you said. Right?
Okay, so being chosen.
What is she basing
being chosen is not okay.
I didn't say
being chosen.
I'm saying, how would a woman know? How would a woman know, love? Because you're saying that woman shouldn't have
a woman being picked by a man. Well, you got to understand the process. A woman isn't her being selected by a man isn't determined by her ability to have discernment. A woman getting retention from a man. It's based on her ability to use discernment. And her discernment not only comes from her, it comes from her covering. Her beauty alone, her femininity alone, how she carries herself, her class, her character, her personality.
Okay. So
those things work to finding her favorability in her.
So if I date you for 3 months, I'm not your girlfriend yet, but I'm dating you for 3 months. What is the point of me doing that if it's not for me to gain enough information about who you are and how this thing is going to work as we move into the next phase of this thing called the relationship, right? Because you go from dating.
First of all, if you're dating me for 3 months,
how would I get to know you if I don't have? What am I looking for if I don't know?
And that's the fact. You're not supposed, and that's the problem with society today.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get.
It's not supposed to be. This I'm supposed to get to know you is the work of the devil.
So I'm not supposed to get to know you.
You get to know you're gonna this thing about getting to know somebody. I'm married. I've been married for 10 years. I'm still getting to know my wife.
Okay, I get
this isn't something that you. This isn't a threshold or something you cross and then you continue on to bliss.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Because when your
So
wife
this,
said yes, she said yes for many reasons. She didn't say yes because you're a man, right? Because women have options galore. We don't have to try to get a man. Any woman can go out today and get a man. What I'm saying to you and what I'm asking you, so I can understand from the male perspective, if you and I are in dating phase, because I'm not going to meet you on a Monday and you're going to want to marry me on Friday, right? That it doesn't work like that. Historically, even in the 50s, women sit in their living room with the parents, and they had to give it time before the man could even say, I want to marry
actually,
your daughter.
historically, they never dated. If you want to be
Okay, well,
correct,
let's not use the word dated. My point to you is, if you and I have met, what is my place as a woman to determine if when you say, will you marry me, I can comfortably with safety and honor say, yes, I will accept you in my life as my husband. Because you're making it seem like just because you propose and choose a woman, that makes you a great choice or a great man for that woman. She has to use her discernment to decide and make a good choice as well, because we have the right to say, no, I don't want to marry you. And so many women have. So my question to you is, when a woman meets a man and a man has decided, I want to choose her to be my wife, what space is a woman supposed to be in to know that her saying yes is her making a good choice about you?
because she got her father's approval.
Gotcha.
That's
So
all
she's
that
completely
matters.
absent in this choice and decision as a grown
She
adult.
wouldn't bring. If she didn't want him, if she didn't find favor in him in the first place, she would have never brought him to her
But
covenant.
what will cause her to bring him to her father is my question.
Because she initially vetted him out to see that he hit the
But
biblical
earlier
principles in
you
it.
said a
Hold
woman
on, wait,
has
wait,
to
you
vet.
gotta let me finish my point. You spoke to this man. You had a conversation with this man, and your questioning and answer was strategic enough to where you were able to see evidence that this man was biblically and principally driven.
So what
The
is that
same
for? You
on the
just said
same
it.
and parallel to what you believe in,
Right.
that gives
But you
you
just said it.
validation to go even bring this man to your covenant.
Absolutely. But you just said earlier that a woman shouldn't be vetting men. But now you're saying women should be vetting men. And I
But
guess what
see
I
the
was trying
thing.
to bring,
Okay,
well,
so
I guess what I was
here's the
trying to
I
thing.
bring
think,
I
to
think
yo,
you
brothers
hold on.
is
Let me just
we
chime
can't
in
be
real quick.
absent
I
in that
think,
choice.
I think what Bruce is saying is like, and I agree with him on this. Like, women shouldn't be dating multiple people like that. I think they should date one man, get married to that one man. That's
I
my
agree.
beliefs. You know
I
what I
can agree
mean?
to that.
And I my bad for interrupting so abruptly, but let Lola chime in real quick. I'll be right back. I gotta use the restroom. All right.
All right.
Hey, so I don't. Okay, two things. The first thing is the religious piece. Bruiser, like I said before, I respect people's religion, and I try not to talk about that. But when we talking about something like relationships and/or marriage is not a thing that only affects, for instance, Christians, right? Like if everybody was Christian, everything you're saying wouldn't even be a matter of discussion. It would be a matter of, are you going to do it or not? Because we all are on the same spiritual wavelength. But because people are not, yet marriage affects everyone. It's like your conversation has to be something that can reach everybody, and that's something that I take away from Christianity as it pertains to the teachings of Jesus Christ for what he's been known as. You understand? Like he never spoke in a way that people from other religions couldn't understand him. Like he didn't, and I think that that's important when you speak, because when you say, oh, the Bible says you're supposed to do this. And it's like, I mean, have you noticed that not everybody's Christian, and Christianity is losing followers for notions of absolutism and shit that doesn't make any sense. That and really the Bible isn't promoting, but people are promoting that, and that's a bad look. And it's like, to that point, I think that we can speak about what we are supposed to do and what works more, without making it a God argument, because nobody died and made anybody the arbiter of what is absolutely right or wrong. And as I've been taught, all truths are but half truths. Like that's me. So I don't get on here and say, well, what you're supposed to do. I try to speak in terms of, well, what we've seen, what we're experiencing, and what we would like to experience. So therefore, let's do some subtraction and addition to get to where we want to get to. So while you and Miss Seven are debating, let's say, courting versus dating and vetting versus like falling in love, right? Both of you are making strong arguments, but I think what's missing is that everything both of you are saying has to be accounted for in this thing we call life and relationships. Everything she's saying is valid. Everything you're saying is valid, but somehow it has to be met in a balance in the middle. So I personally don't want to argue over what is the definition of courting versus dating and get caught up in that European shit. I don't want to get caught up in the difference between, okay, well, is a man supposed to pick for a woman versus not, when I already know men didn't pick, they sold. Okay, men got a dowry because that's what you was worth and shit. And if you didn't, let's say, re-up on your promises, people were coming back for their dough. Like, I don't want to get into that because that's old world culture. I don't live in a world where my father collects money for whoever can pay for me. I don't live in that world. I live in this world, like right here. So it's like I respect what you're saying in respect to where it works for relationships, but I do think you have to move the conversation beyond what people used to do, for whatever reason or not, and talk about right now what works based on where we're at right now.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and that's where we have a problem. I don't deviate from the word to cater to people who don't align with what marriage and relationship was intended for. Me personally, I stay grounded and I'm unwavering, and I stand on business. I have these same conversations with people who deviated from men being with women, so they can be with men. Well, some men can be with men and women can be with women, and they want me to take the conversation away from what relationships and marriage was intended for, to soothe and please the lifestyle and opinions and which way the life and modern life is. I don't do that. I'm not in the business of deviating. That's a devilish thing. So I know what marriage was intended for. It wasn't based on the religious preferences. That was based on humanity, period. Christianity came way after Jesus had passed away. Jesus didn't even call himself Christian. The only reason why I use that term is to be more relatable with the points I was making. I don't even call myself a Christian. I read the Bible, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, but I don't label myself. But my point is about relationships it was intended, and marriage was a covenant by God. It wasn't for society to change it, structure it in a different way to suit everybody else.
Bruiser, I'm not the type of female that's gonna go back and forth with you. I'm not fiery for real. I don't got that kind of energy.
I'm not asking you to go back and forth. I was just letting you know where I was coming from and why I didn't deviate.
Hold on. I understand why she's losing you, but I'm keeping up with her because we both female. She taking you through the loop and she catching you. You are a male and you're a straight line thinker, meaning you have a short attention span. You notice I'm trying to be short with you and I'm trying to be straight line with you and give you examples so that we don't have to keep talking about the same thing. All I'm saying is Jesus never had a conversation about the differences in religion and what he was standing on. He just spoke to people in a way they could understand. Right now, today, men have different needs other than just needing a wife to take care of kids in the house. Men want to do other shit too. It ain't just women. So at the end of the day, right now, we're in a society where technology is doing most of the manual labor. We're in a society right now where people are dealing with transhumanism and shit. So you have to speak based on where we're at right now. I know you do. I think I forgot if you do martial arts or whatever, but you know what a pivot is. And it's like you don't pivot from a place you're not standing at. And I can't teach you how to do shit from a place you're not at. Right now, based on how we see each other, based on the fact that right now having 10 kids is not profitable to nobody. It used to be when you had a farm and most people were sharecroppers, sure, but not today. It's a liability today. That might have a reason to do with why a lot more women are less nurturing, because having children isn't so much necessary today as it was before. You might be more nurturing when you got 10 kids on you at all times, and being brother and sister or mother and child. But right now, that's not where we're at. Nobody wants like a bunch of fucking liabilities on them. This is where we're at right now. So if we can't talk about where we're at right now, and we got to keep going back to Adam and Eve and a time that we did not live in under rules we are not under, in religions most of us are not under, then that's not moving us forward. I'm interested in moving forward. At the end of the day,
I disagree. I disagree. I believe we are still under biblical principles. I think those who decided to deviate are using terms or talking more confused.
I'm not speaking to your perspective, so you don't need to defend yourself. I'm not saying you're wrong. You notice I keep saying it to you, right? So you'll understand. I'm with you, okay?
Well, you don't have to defend yourself. Inaccurate statement saying the world is not living under biblical principles. That's false.
Okay, the world is not living as Christians, Jews, or Muslims.
But that don't mean I gotta conform to people who have been swayed by the work of the devil. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Just because everybody start, just because men start sucking cock, don't mean that I gotta go and be like, okay, everybody's doing it. I'm gonna switch what I believe and take on what everybody.
Stop it, Bruiser. I never said, because I'm about to have, because I get irritated when men enter these conversations like what you're doing. I never said you needed to abide by any law or any religion other than the one you're with. I told you specifically, I don't debate people's religion and their personal belief systems. I don't debate that
right now because the position you're coming from is actually a religion.
Okay, hold on.
Just because it has a Bible or a Quran behind it doesn't mean that's only a religion. Society today, the way it's moving today is actually a religion. You don't even know it.
Listen, stop talking, because right now you're not being what I know you are. You slipping right now, brother, for real. I literally am in the middle of telling you that I am not arguing against your point. I'm not arguing for your point. I'm asking you to speak in a way that more than Christians or Muslims or people that read the Bible can understand. You are telling me I'm asking you to do something. No, I'm not. I'm not asking you to do shit. I'm asking you to do what your Bible told you in the New Testament. That's what I'm asking you to do. And this is why, Bruiser, stop talking for a second and listen. Okay, you got 2 fucking ears. Listen. Nobody is going to go live by no principles any more than what they're living through now. If what you're doing right now is an example of it, women don't respond to that. Maybe your wife did because you wasn't talking to her the way you're talking right now. But women in general do not respond to men like that. Leave that shit there. If you can't speak to people in a way they understand, stop wasting your fucking breath, yo.
Well, first of all, it's not a matter of speaking to people. It's just you have a combative nature. You know what I'm saying? You have a combative nature. The fact that you have a man, hold on, Rush. The fact that you have a man like myself who gets out in the trenches every day to help men and women.
I don't know what you do every day.
Hold on. Not only that, I actually speak from.
I don't know what you do.
I actually speak from integrity. I have a wife and kids, a nuclear family, and I'm moving off biblically principled, and I'm thriving in a modern society.
You're not biblically principled because you're not showing it now.
The same society you said that the principles that are used don't work in, and I'm sitting here telling you that they do. I'm a proven example of it.
I didn't say that.
Many men back me on that. Just
I did not say that. Okay, Rush, if he's gonna keep on just repeating dumb shit, I gotta go. I never said that shit, because that's not even my point. I don't believe in that shit. So if you hearing shit that people didn't say, this is why people don't fuck with people in relationships, because you do shit like that. Literally, that girl, Miss Seven, told you several times. You're repeating her in a way she don't believe in. She didn't say what you're saying, but you're gonna keep going with it anyway. And you think this is how relationships don't end up where the fuck they at right now. Stop deluding yourself with talks about your principles. See, I don't give a fuck about your principles. This shit ain't fucking working.
That's the bottom line. People are, like I said earlier, people are fighting the current of change. Listen, everybody's not gonna go into relationships based on spirituality. You know, that hasn't been followed ever since the day of time. That hasn't been. If we want to talk about that, I mean, you know, men are walking around today saying, "Well, it's Eve's fault because she." Listen, spirituality. Let's exclude that, because realistically, that hasn't been the principle of relationships and marriage. It really hasn't. And we can use that and we can throw that and see if it sticks to the wall. But realistically, that has not been the reason and the premises for good or bad intentions or the delivery of a good relationship or marriage. Because if that were true, if men and women, specifically, I'm going to go with men, are going to act on principle because they're the ones choosing women, well, men haven't been honoring that. And I don't care what religion you're from, it doesn't matter. Men do not act morally according to the principle of just the bare bottom line of respect and dignity, as they're the ones choosing women. I'm not going to take away accountability and the onus of choices that women have made. Women have cheated. Women have abused men. Women have used men. I get all of that. But I think that, today's world, and to her credit, you got to consider to stop fighting the current. It is what it is. And if you can't compromise and meet this person that you're wanting to be with halfway and bend to the degree that this thing between me and you, or this dynamic that we can create, is against the traditional morals and values of what we thought is supposed to be, then we're going to find ourselves consistently struggling. My sister's
All right,
husband
Lola, I'll hit you up later tonight, Lola.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. You said what?
Gotcha.
No,
See you
no,
guys.
she about to move. I'm just saying goodbye to her. My bad. Go ahead, finish your talking point.
My sister's husband is a full-time stay-at-home dad. And for a long time, he worked from home. He created a great amount of money. And my sister wanted to switch careers. And he said, okay, I'll stay home. You go do you. And when people meet them, they're like, oh, my God, he's a simp, right? He's home with the kids all day. He's doing the cleaning and the cooking and the rearing of the kids. And they think that my sister respects him less because of that. But the reality is that they chose the dynamic that works for them. And my sister's more in love with him today, and she respects him as she always has as the man of the house, no different than when they were both working and paying the bills, or when he was working and being the full-time provider financially, and he was hardly home, and she was doing all of the taking care of the house and the children. So I think that is the gap that we're not willing to meet. What is it that we can make happen together that doesn't include what everybody else says it has to be? Let's exclude all the other shit that people are leaning on to create this thing called a good relationship and a great marriage. Because who said that men can't help clean and cook and rear the kids and take them to school and run errands like us women? Why do we have to be exhausted all day long and still go to work and help with the bills and then submit to you, take care of you, do all the shit that we got to do, and at the end of the day, we don't have a breath left to take care of ourselves? Who said that that is the concept of marriage or relationships, right? So when you continue to fight the current, you're always going to find yourself at odds, because you're never going to be willing to bend enough to make this thing between me and you work. You want it the way you want it because you believe that that's how it has to be. And if I don't conform or cooperate the way that you say it has to be, then you can't be with me. And I think that that is the biggest devastation to two people. Because if you
Well, a leader has to be able to lead. If you don't want to follow him, it's really hard to be a leader.
Well, but what is leadership to you? Leadership doesn't mean because I'm the man and I have two balls. Leadership means, what am I contributing to this circumstance, this thing we're creating, that's going to bring us into a better space? Because as a woman, I'm going to lead too, because I have to. I'm an adult. That doesn't mean that I'm.
So can we let's try to go back to where we left off though. Let's say you did connect, Seven, and I'm showcasing that I'm biblically sound. You know what I'm saying? I got principles. I believe in God and all this other stuff. And I'm telling you, hey, look, I'm financially stable. I have everything I need. I want to take you as my wife. What's wrong with you just bowing and following me and allowing me to make sure you're taken care of for the rest of your life? Just compromising and becoming submissive and cooperative.
So
I know y'all get triggered by certain phrases and words. I can choose to tack on a different vocabulary of words that's more pleasing to the ear, but try to eat the meat and spit out the bones, if you will.
See, that is the gap. Because if you met me, right, and I'm funny, I have personality, I'm humble, I'm all the things that I would believe a man would consider to be a good wife, right? I got some shit I got to work on. I got some shit to me, like we all do, right? But if you come to me and we're having conversation and you start using these words that are going to make me believe that as soon as I say yes, I'm then going to become somewhat of a slave to you instead of the companionship, your confidant, right, your wife, because none of that revolves around these words that you're using. And so all that shit matters. And you want to make
and that's why you just ask different questions. You just ask different questions to get more context. That's all. There's layers to it. It's not. It don't just stay. It don't just stop at bow. You can ask, okay, what do you mean by bow? And then we kind of walk through that.
It's not a trigger. It's not a trigger. It's me understanding that there's certain things that I am not going to tolerate or put up with if I become your girlfriend and then your wife. right? I'm not here to be your slave. I'm not here to be your chef. I'm not here to be your maid. I'm not here to be
Well,
your
see,
teddy bear.
I think
I'm
the
here
term
for, I'm here to
slave. I
listen,
think women are using the term slave
let me finish,
ingenuously,
but listen, let me
because
finish.
there's
So,
women
but
who've been
listen,
slaves for real,
okay, you
and
go
they're
ahead,
probably
because
rolling over their
you're not
graves
going to
like
get
y'all don't even
nowhere to keep
understand
cutting me off.
what that
But go ahead.
actually feels like. Like the fact that you can have a man provide everything for you, give you a house, home, food, everything, whatever, any
But
kids
listen,
you want.
brother,
You
that's
can
not
sit on the
realistic.
couch,
But
fart,
that's not
dig up
realistic.
your
The average
nose, and
middle
watch
class
all of the
man
soap
cannot
operas you
do
want.
that.
You
But
call
the
that
average middle
slavery?
class man cannot afford to financially do that. If I was to spell out right now all
See,
of
you
my
only
bills,
need one man. See, see
listen, but
where y'all
this,
mind is at. Y'all mind is so based on selection
okay,
and
you're not
hypergamy.
even listening.
Y'all look at men as a mass instead of just
What
looking at
you're
the one
Slow
in
saying
front of
doesn't
you.
down,
make
slow
sense.
down,
But you
slow
also got
down.
to let
Don't
me finish,
just.
brother, because if you're going to keep cutting me off, you're not going to get the extent of what I'm trying to say so that you can
Yeah, how
focus
we
on what
supposed to
you
have a
need to tell
dialogue
me.
if y'all want to continue to y'all want to
Right. What
lecture
I'm saying is,
instead of
if
find
you
answers?
choose me, the average man that's out here right now in what we call middle class America in our culture, the middle class average man cannot afford to cover 100% of all the financial needs, necessities, and wants of a family. It is
Well,
almost
then you
economically
pick up the
and
slack.
okay, so
Depends.
there's my point. Okay, great, we're getting somewhere
So
now.
what's wrong with
So
that?
when you're so
What's wrong with you seeing that? Okay, maybe I can be a supportive asset. He don't have enough
because
to take care of
obviously we're not
everything.
gonna have a
I'll cover
conversation.
the rest. What's wrong with that?
I would say, can you define needs and define family?
Well, as a woman, right? If you are saying I'm choosing you, as a woman, I'm not gonna let go of wanting to do the things I do for myself when you met me single. I'm not gonna give up my life and the things that make me feel pretty and feminine outside of the necessities. I pay all my own bills, right? 100%. Me. Now you're saying abandon all that, come into my world, come eat at my table, and I'm gonna cover all of your necessities: a roof, food, gas, electric, all the basics. Got it. So now you're wanting me to do X amount of things for you and the household and possibly children, right? But now you're also telling me, but you also got to now go figure out how to do all the extra stuff that I financially cannot provide to you. But I still want you to do all the other stuff that comes with you being a traditional woman, right? So a woman spends an average of about $400 a month just being able to do the basics: nails, hair, taking care of her skin. That's basic.
Mm.
That's nothing, right? So what I'm saying to you is, when a man says I'm going to provide 100% of everything, 99% of that time it's not true. A man can't afford it, because when you're looking at what it costs in today's world to actually take care of an entire family, vehicles, to heat up and warm up a house, food, children, clothing, medical insurance, car insurance, gas, and then the stuff that these people need: haircuts, nails. It's impossible. Most men cannot afford it. But you still want us to do this extreme amount of work to
But your
submit.
submission and your cooperation shouldn't be dependent on him being able to afford
No,
Mm.
100%.
what I'm saying is your
Why you can't
language.
just be a
No, but that's
helpmeet?
what I'm saying.
Well, I
That's
was gonna
the
ask
language. Because
it.
don't tell me you're going to be 100% my provider if you know you can't afford it. So let's have a
Well,
real
me
type of
Do
specifically,
conversation.
do
I could do that, but the next man, but that shouldn't not, that
And it's
shouldn't give a
okay if you
knock
but
to the
can't.
next
well,
man.
let's
And
talk
it's
about
okay
the
if you
average
can't.
man.
And
Do
it's
you
okay
expect
if
him
you
to start
can't.
providing all of that month one, or
No,
like
no, no, no.
further
Absolutely
down the
not.
line as we
No, no,
build
no.
together?
At marriage, or maybe never. Or maybe never. Because here's the reality. As a coach, I will tell you 100%. I have met hundreds of women that have said to me, Seven, I don't care paying half the bills. I don't give a shit going to work. But what I'm not going to do is come home exhausted, and then everything in that house falls on me, while my husband gets to take a nap or play video games or go, play work on his car. That is an unfair, unequitable relationship.
I
So,
but
so
you're
what I'm saying is, let's
hmm
change the language when we're in the space of getting to know each other, so that realistically we both know what we're dealing with. We both know what we're contributing. Because don't give me this promise that you're going to provide, 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 right? And then when we finally get married, you pull back the curtain or take off the mask and say, surprise, I can't and I won't do all of these things for you, right? Because you now are misinterpreting or misleading, and you're already failing into leadership because you provided a blueprint of something and someone that you intended to never be or couldn't be. So if you and I are just dating, this is just to see who you are, your character, your traits, your humor, your future goals, maybe. And then we move into relationship, boyfriend and girlfriend. Now I'll give you a little more access to me, right? right? You give me a little more access to you. You want to see how I cook and clean? Come to my house when I'm doing laundry, and I'll show you what I do. Maybe when you show up and you pop up on me as my man, if I'm constantly excusing my mess, then you already know I'm a messy woman. You want to know how I cook? Well, come on holidays. And when I celebrate your achievements, I'm not going to cook and clean for you like you're my husband, because you're not. Right? So I want to see how you move. So I'm going to pay attention when you're around your family.
Wouldn't it be
I,
better? Wouldn't
I,
it be better to go ahead? Go ahead. My bad. I didn't
So,
mean to
so
I,
interrupt.
what I'm saying is, we got to date and do this in phases. There's so much. Women are so gun ho to be wife the minute that a man makes her his girlfriend, because she wants to prove that I am wife material. A man has to, assess and vet and uses discernment as he's watching her in her natural state. This is the best time to get to know a woman without her even noticing that she's being 100% genuine. Because just like a man, a woman is going to give you the play and the script so that you can see what you think you need to see for you to marry her. And this is why long term, then all this shit explodes. She doesn't clean like she said. She doesn't cook like she says. She's not sexual like she says. No, what you should have did was watched and observed her in this thing called relationship in her natural state. And if then those things are suitable, then you could decide from there she's going to be my wife, right? So at the end of the day, what I'm saying to you is that the language has to change. When you're talking, well, are you going to submit to me? That shit ain't triggering. It's just that, what do you mean submit to you? Based on what? Why is it that we can't submit to each other?
I,
Right? And
I,
so
I can
that's
agree.
what I'm
Submit's
saying.
Because
pretty
a man
All
extreme.
don't
I'm saying is
submit to a
that's
woman. A man
Yo,
submits to
hold on.
God.
Let Plastic Spoon speak real quick. Go ahead, chime in. Plastic Spoon.
I was gonna say submit does sound a little extreme when guys say it nowadays. But then at the same time, I don't think a whole bunch of guys are just gonna be like, you need to, I mean, is that your experience? Is that a whole bunch of men are like, as soon as you
Yeah,
start dating them,
yeah,
you need to start cooking, you need to start cleaning. There's no
yeah.
sort of like reciprocity as far as like, okay, I took you on a date this on Monday, maybe you can cook for me on Wednesday.
No, because I just did just like this invite I got today. I was invited to another podcast where the gentleman hosting the podcast said all women in the dating phase need to pay for their own dates when you're out with them, right? So this thing is spreading like wildfire. So, you know, men want to see us in action very quickly. My thing is, if you and I are just dating, like I'm not even your girlfriend yet, right? This is a space where you get to determine if you want to commit to me and I to you as my boyfriend or girlfriend. We're doing this thing in stages. You don't owe me anything. You don't need to pay my bills. You don't need to buy me clothes. None of that. That's such an unrealistic and delusional expectation of any woman. I don't need you to take me on expensive dates. I don't need you to take me on vacation. All the shit that women are saying, no coffee dates. I don't want to take a walk. I don't want to go eat ice cream. That's bullshit, as you should, because this is when the natural place of a man and a woman shows up, when you're doing the most humble things. When a woman and a man then agree, okay, I really like you, and we are aligned in the things that we want and we enjoy each other, then we can escalate this thing to, now you're my girlfriend. Now I could spend a little more when I want to buy you a gift if I want to. But in that space, that man doesn't need to pay her bills. The only time that a man needs to start doing that is when he does what you just asked me. Are you going to cook for me? Why do I need to cook for you? Why do you need to spend the night in my house where I got to bust my ass to pay all these bills? Like men have to consider what we need to do to take care of ourselves and our children as well, right? So if I got to pay my rent, my gas, electric, and all this stuff, and you're coming over 3 days a week, and I got to now share my groceries with you, and my electricity with you, and my bed with you, then at that point, yes, you need to start making some kind of contribution, because now you are eating up on my resources. So if you want to know how I cook, then wait for me to invite you to do that, or let me celebrate something for you, or come over on the holidays. It's not a matter of I got to prove myself to you. Watch me in my natural state. And you will learn everything you need to know about a woman when you just pay attention to her. When she doesn't know, you're paying
Well, that's a
attention.
problem. You want a man. You have a specific man you desire. It's important
But why
that
do
you
you need
find
to pay
out
my
what.
bills as my
Oh, let me
boyfriend?
let me get. I just
You
you
don't.
got a
I
man.
think you're right in a
You got a
sense.
man that you got a specific man that you desire. You want specific outcomes. You should optimize yourself for him. You might have to recalibrate your way of cooking,
And he
recalibrate
needs to
your way of
optimize
washing.
himself for
Clean.
me. If you want me to cook and
No,
clean
no,
for
hold on.
you
See,
as
that's the
my
problem, and
boyfriend,
that's the
yes,
problem,
now
and
you
that's the
got to act
problem.
like a husband.
It's not
That's the
so much
problem.
that
And
we
now that's
want
what you
something
husbands
and
get.
you want something. I think it's more so that I think a lot of times what gets missed is that part of the relationship is that there's a friendship element. So we're friends. I mean, my friend, if I invite my friend over to my house, sometimes I cook, and hopefully if they're hungry, I'm gonna try and feed them. And hopefully if I go over your place, there's a place of reciprocity. I think a big thing that gets lost in all this, DMP conversations is that there's an element of communication and the way things are said. It goes off wrong. But I think what men are looking for is we're really looking for a friend. I think most guys can get box and we kind of manipulate our ways into getting that. But yes, I think all of us are looking for a partner, and part of that is just friendship. We don't want to feel like we're being used. We hear the things that you want, the dates, hey, you want people to buy nails, we want these things, and the men do want to do that, but it's what gets lost is we think that you want that on month one, and a lot of the things that you guys desire and the same things that we desire, we actually need to slow down and be able to communicate these things. And if you have a boundary, you need to be able to communicate that, because it sounds
Absolutely.
like you are meeting guys that you think are great and are probably pretty attractive. But if they're coming over 3 times a night and they are just demanding that you cook, you want to cook, I would say, hey, let me go over your spot and see what you got in your refrigerator. Because for all you know, that guy's asking you to do that because he got no food in his fridge. There's a level of like reciprocation. If he's just demanding that, yes, I can understand where you would be upset. But if he's kind of like doing his part, I think that man would. Yeah, I know me personally. Hey, it would be nice if my friend, if I came home and they were off work early, they could cook.
So it's all
Right, but
subjective
the
to this
difference between
particular
that and
dude.
friendship is the expectation changes love, right? Men start dating women, and in the first month, especially like with me, I'm Dominican, so for some reason there's this thing about Hispanic women being extra catering, and they love to cook for their man and clean for their man, and you know. This is supposed to be like the huge advantage of dating Hispanic women, which is bullshit, right? At the end of the day, what I'm saying to you is that there's this thing that called expectations. If I'm home and I'm cooking and my friends or a coworker pops up or calls and says, "Hey, I'm in the area," there's no expectation from me to them. If I give them a plate of food, great. If I say no, you're not eating in my house because it's leftovers for my work tomorrow, then great. But it changes. That dynamic and level of expectation changes. And I'm saying that if a man is expecting for a woman who is his girlfriend, because if you're doing all this shit for someone you're just getting to know, you really need to get to a coach or somebody that
And
understands
we
you.
talking about all the
But
nuances that I
yeah,
eliminated
right.
when
But
I
we're talking
initially
boyfriend and
told you
girlfriend.
you ain't supposed to be out here
If you
dating
are
like that.
So
expecting,
so
if you are expecting a woman to do the things that a wife does for a man, then you need to be prepared to do the things that a husband does for a woman, because you cannot have it both ways. So if you
Well,
are
that's true.
expecting,
Nobody's arguing that it's only gonna be one
but in
sided.
real life, that is a challenge. That is a
Well,
challenge.
it sounds like both parties need to be prepared to at some point come to the table and set some sort of expectations. And I
That's my
think that's
point.
it's
That's what
it's
I'm saying.
okay
That's
to
what changes.
communicate that. And if
Yeah.
it's hey, if a woman says that, hey, I want this, that, the third, maybe it's a art, it's a negotiation, there's a science to it. It's not really sexy, but we're at the point where we are now. But I, I just feel like I don't want you to not want to do that. If he like, hopefully there's a level of like, okay, I'll cook for you, but I'm not gonna do it every day. That's just wow. That doesn't make any sense. If you want that, you need to position me to be able to do that every day, which is maybe I don't work and I'm at home all day. If that's what y'all negotiate, that's what you negotiate. But
Right.
yes, men
That's
need to kind
exactly
of
right.
come back and be like, if you guys are gonna be individuals, then you don't have to be so extreme with the demands.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, three days a week spending the night or coming over is a bit much. So I could understand where you're coming from that perspective. But I mean, if you want to stay sucker free, you know what I mean, keep minimum contact. Yeah, I'm just saying, man. You ain't gonna catch me doing no sucker shit like that. But you know what I mean?
No, I mean,
Proceed. Keep
listen. When people
talking.
fall in love, they want to be around each other all the time. Let's be real. I don't know if you're married or single, but we've at least all been in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, right? And we can all agree that if you got your own place and I got my own place, at some point people start doing this thing called spending the night with each other. It's normal. This is what people do, right? I very rarely talk to or coach people that are like, yeah, I got my own place. He has his own, and we see each other all the time outside of each other's homes. realistically, that doesn't work like that. People start to
Yeah, but
spend the
just
night
because
with
it's
each
normal
other.
don't mean that's the right way to do it. That's what I'm
I'm not
trying.
saying it's right. I'm saying, but that's what people do, right? Because this is
I
what
get
they
it, and
perceive.
that's what
They
I think. That's what
perceive women
Lola
as
kind of
how we're supposed to
went
get to
into
know
a
each other.
tangent on.
That's
Just
what they.
that's
That's
what
how.
Lola went into a tangent. She kept trying to put an emphasis on. Okay, what does people actually do? What I got when you talk to somebody who's grounded in principle and standard, it doesn't matter what everybody made normal. It's all about what do you stand on, and can you continue to stand on that? And if you stand, both of y'all stand on something, y'all agree to stand on the same principles. You don't have to worry about okay, who's gonna do this and who's gonna do that. You already know it's already mapped out. That actually works better than trying to figure out because we all scattered. We all come from different cultural
Yeah, but that has
backgrounds and
to. But
beliefs.
listen, that has to
And
come
now
from
we
a
gotta try to
place.
come
Not
together
just
and figure out
And
men.
how we mesh.
it's hard to stand on principles when most of us are operating off of either attraction or finances. So yes, we need to be more conscious of the way we're acting and choose our mates differently. Because if the guy just goes for the girl with the big booty, and the girl just goes for the NBA player who's 6'8", we're gonna end up throwing all those guidelines that we create for ourselves out the window.
And that's where a woman's covering comes in,
Now
and a
that's
man's mentor comes
somebody
in,
that
and
does
all
that
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 stuff is
don't
eliminated.
follow protocol is a simp. You know what I mean? He gonna
Say
do
that
some
again.
sucker shit. Word is born. No.
What you say?
And that's fact. That's why I said that's where a woman's covering come in, and a man's mentor or who's over him to hold him accountable for standing on principle. We
Yeah, but
literally
listen.
eliminate all that in the selection process, looking at how wide the cheeks is and how wide the hips is and how big the lips and the titties and all that stuff. All that stuff goes out of the door when principle and standards come into play.
Yeah, but I mean, we got listen. But we also got to get to a space of accountability and being pure adults because it's all good to say, hey, I'm going to bring you to my dad or my mentor or my aunt or my sister. But listen, realistically, these people are going to give you perspective based on the life that they've lived, their experiences, what they believe that they think you need and don't need. And at the end of the day, if you choose to say yes to this man that chose you to marry him, this is where the real dance begins. And let's say realistically, we're not going to involve people in our marriage or relationships day after day. We got to know how to independent from each other and from the rest of the world, know how to deal with each other because that is really where it's going to count the most. And if you can't figure out how to do that in the dating phase, in the relationship phase, then you can expect that it's going to fail in the marriage phase, right? Because all you're doing is getting a consultation, an opinion. But at the bare bottom line, where it matters most is what can we make happen with each other. So all these things matter: conversation, language. Do you know the differences between your preferences and your standards? What is a non-negotiable? What are your boundaries? What is it that you're willing to tolerate and not tolerate? No one can tell you this but you. And if you don't know what that looks like for
Oh,
yourself, when
y'all
you
could tell each
encounter
other
it,
that when y'all sit at
right?
the
But when
table and
you
have a
encounter it, you're
conversation.
not gonna know how to deal with it, right? And
Yeah, you
again, I'll
do.
say this again:
Yeah, I'm
people are
telling you, there's
dating
such
in the
thing.
dark.
I was gonna say it's gonna be very hard for secularists to get marriage because part of marriage is gonna involve family. So it's gonna involve getting your families involved. And a big aspect of marriage,
Thank
that's
you. It
just my
takes a village.
personal opinion, is gonna be of religion or a set of moral standards. Because if you don't have a
That's
religion
my
or a
point.
set moral standards, I don't think you should get married. You should just
You shouldn't
be in
even
a
be trying to get
relationship
in no
where
marriage.
you're independent and you guys just try to make it work out. But marriage is specifically a religious union between a man and a woman, and you're submitted to
And you're
God,
not
and you're
supposed you're not
you're
supposed to
you're
go at it
ready to
alone. Your
you're
family and
really
everybody's
ready
supposed
to
to be
go at
involved.
it like till death. No, we're gonna like you're really ready to like work it out. And if divorce is an option to you, I think you should just stick to just hey, we date long term, and then if we I think we also need to get okay with a small group of us being gay. We have short term relationships for like 4 or 5 years, and then we move on to the next one. I I will acknowledge that there's a group of people who are like that.
Yeah, I mean, the birthing rate has gone down by 30%, which is scary, which is a clear indication that men and women don't want more kids, don't want to have kids. There's something going on here that we can all talk about. And more than ever, people are celebrating what I call Singleville, right? People are finding solace and peace. And if you are finding solace and peace in being single, and I mean single as in you're not even considering the option to date. Whether you're fresh out of a divorce, whether you're fresh out of a breakup, whether you've been single for a long time, there's something there to be said that people are contending with that is scaring them into getting into relationships and marriage, right? And this is where the real conversations between men and women begin. And people don't want to have those true hard conversations. People want what they want. They want the fantasy life. They want the all-American dream, all the shit that is a fucking story. It's a fantasy. You know, the day of the wedding is a one-day performance. The real dance and lifelong dance begins when you go home and you have already said I do, right? And so at the end of the day, you can't get to that part if you haven't gotten to the A part. If you can't figure out how to pick a mate, discern yourself through dating to weed out all the bullshit people that you know are not going to serve you, and then finally enter into this online thing called relationship, me, boyfriend and girlfriend, and giving up access to each other for this man to determine this is my wife and for her to say I will accept his proposal. If you haven't done the work to get past that part, you're fucked in marriage. Because if that's when you're going to wait to begin the work, then it's going to be a very hard ride. Because you are walking into a lifelong commitment. You have said, I'm going to give you my natural life, and I'm only going to be with you in every way possible and only you. That's a hard commitment. So you got to do the work to understand what you're getting yourself into. And I will always say this to people. You keep dating in the dark, you're not going to have a good outcome. It's impossible. You're going to bump into shit that you
Dating
know.
in the dark is not having a recovery and not being backdrop
Well,
specific from.
if
That's
I'm
what you're
gonna
going to
speak
be.
for, I can't speak for women because I don't know the female perspective and what's going on there.
Yeah.
Just if I'm gonna speak for men, as far as why we don't at least want to get married, I know a big thing is a lot of us want our own family, and a lot of us just want to find a nice, wholesome woman that we can kind of grow with and ride it out in the sunset. And I don't believe a lot of us are finding those women. We're finding a lot of women who have children or trauma or maybe are not on the most healthiest side. And I believe ultimately a lot of us as men have to settle, or yes, we have to either settle, or yes, what a lot of women say, and this is what a lot of men have to do, is man up and become that top tier man so you can go out and pluck the woman that you want.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the
Yeah.
majority of us
We're
as
facing the
men
same
know
dilemma,
that
though.
we are going to settle for the woman that we want in some way, shape, or form. But
We're
hopefully,
facing the
we're
same
able to get a
dilemma.
good friendship with that woman.
We're facing the same dilemma. You know, most men have children from prior women in relationships.
Most men don't have children.
A lot of men. I
A
find more
lot of
men.
men
Listen,
have children,
more
but the
men have
majority of men,
children than the men that don't.
no, that's not
Yes,
true.
that is very true. Because you gotta understand that if you're
That's
dating,
not.
if you're a 30, 35-year-old man, if you're a 28-year-old man dating, most men have already experienced having a child or been married at least once. Okay, so
75% of my friend group don't have kids.
Actually, that's not true. Most
that's
men do
not
not have a kid.
that is
Most
not no
men,
when
Most,
most
I
I would
meet
say
men
a
only
don't
a
man
even
third of them is having
procreate.
when I
sex.
meet a man
Only a
that has
third of them are
children
having
at
sex.
40,
Only
I'm
40% of
surprised.
men procreate.
I am
Most men don't
surprised.
have kids.
When I meet a man that tells me I don't have kids, I'm surprised. More often than not, the men that we are meeting have children from prior marriages or relationships.
Well, how
It
old
is
are you,
what it
man?
is. Me?
Hmm.
You talking to me? I'm 48.
So, I mean,
And I'm not talking
48.
about
I
me.
think the higher you get in age,
Yeah, I'm not talking about
the
me. Just but
you're
I'm just
highly
saying this is
likely
me.
to. No, I'm saying you're highly likely to run into a man who probably already had his kids.
Yeah,
If
but I
you're
mean,
dating in the pool
the
around
average
48
man
to
that comes on to
55.
me, the average man that comes on to women in their 40s are much younger because you got to get men in their 40s want to date younger women. They're not dating 40-year-olds, right? They're dating the mid 25s to mid 35-year-old women. So, you know, that is, and then you have men that are in their 40s that still want to, you know, have that energy in them. So when it comes to me, the average man that comes on to me is in that age group, right? Because unfortunately, that dynamic too is changing. A lot of younger men are becoming more attracted to older women, and not for the money, because a lot of these younger men are financially doing their thing compared to times past, right? But I'm saying that
It's
we are
probably for
changing.
recreational use.
And I was gonna say, yeah, I think I want you to understand that a lot of those
Most
younger
definitely
men are
not
doing
marriage.
that. Yeah, they're not doing that for long term.
I mean, but what's long term? Because even people that are relatable in age are not staying together long term.
I mean, and that's what I'm
This is the
saying.
problem. But this is
If
the problem. So we can't put a rule on it anymore because even people that are relatable in age that have more aligned in terms of building a family and marriage, even they're not staying together long term, right?
most of the people my age have kids and have let themselves go, and I don't have
We're
children.
encountering the same thing, right? We're encountering the same thing. You know, I would venture to say that ultimately, whoever it is that you decide to date, and whoever you're interested in, you just got to know what it is that you want. When I ask a man, what's a wife? Most men
Now,
tell
that's
me
the
the same
problem.
thing.
You got to know what they
Right.
want.
What's a
As
wife
a
to you?
woman, and I've been trying to flip that. As women, you need to figure out what man do you like, what you want, you desire. Figure out what does he want. What does the
Women
woman
don't
look
do
like
that.
that he wants to marry? How can you optimize yourself to be that?
And that's what I said when I first came into the video. Most people don't know. They just don't know. They are going by the flight of the
Because they
fabric.
don't
They don't know.
ask. They don't ask. They don't ask.
Well,
Oh,
you
you got.
can't
I
ask what
guarantee.
you don't know about. You got to know for yourself first. Like, you got to
Well,
know for yourself. And
you
maybe to
can
your
play it up.
point, talk to your mentor, like you said. Hire a
You
coach.
can go to a man,
Talk to your pastor.
and
Figure it
whenever
out.
the man sit down and talk to you, like, what are you looking for in a woman like that? If you could tell me what your wife look like from the way she look, the way she act, from the things she do, what would it be? A lot of women aren't asking these questions. You know what questions they're asking? How much money do you make? Do you got a six pack? How tall are you? Do you got what kind of life? They're not asking things that put the cards on that table so they can optimize. They're asking questions to figure out what can they get, the lifestyle they want. So they're going in looking at it selfishly.
Well, I mean, because what you're saying is that a woman shouldn't. And I agree. A lot of women don't ask the right questions. They're talking about all the things that they desire in a man, but you got to consider the dynamic. You said this a million times in this interaction that we had today. Men choose women, right? That's what you said. Women are pursued by men. Women are chosen by men. So when you choose a woman and you're telling her to come out of the space that she's in and come join you in this thing called marriage at your table, she has to understand what is it that I'm getting myself into, because I can't go into this in the dark. And if you're marrying a woman that you want children with, or you're coming with children, or she's coming with children, all that matters. To your point, though, I think that women
So
don't know
so
what
let
to
me
ask.
show you how it recently played out from a couple that I dealt with
Mhm.
back in July. There was a woman. She was out. The man approached her. She liked them. They liked each other, and she wanted him to meet her father. She brought him back to meet her father. The father and the guy had a conversation, and he asked the dude, "What do you want from a woman?" To be able to see if his daughter actually had those qualities or was capable of meeting those desires or the outcomes he wanted in the relationship. She didn't have everything, but she was so impressionable it didn't matter. So when he went and had a conversation with his daughter, he said, "Look, you got X, Y, and Z good, done. You already got that. We good on that. He loves that. But you and I know that these things right here, you haven't worked on them. If you really want to be a wife to this man, we can go do the work and get you squared away so that y'all can move on to the next level." And she went and did that based on that communication. That's what covering does. And
Okay.
in any other scenario, if this man had unrealistic wants from a woman that his daughter wasn't able to meet, he was like, "Well, I'm sorry, man, my daughter is just not gonna fit what you need. Maybe you should find another woman. I know for a fact, my daughter is not gonna live up to what you want as a wife." And then it would just move on from there.
I mean, I think that it's something that mutually has to be done. I don't think it's one-sided. I think that women should know what a man is.
Yeah, but if the father wasn't there, then the
And I
woman would
think that
still
the
try to
man needs
make
to
it
know what the
fit. You
woman
know, that's the
also
problem that's going on in
who she is.
society. She would still have
I
sex
mean,
with him,
so
end
what
up
do you
getting
do?
pregnant
So,
with him.
but a lot of women don't have a good male role model in their life. I mean, listen.
That doesn't give you an excuse.
That just
Once
doesn't.
you
Right.
know that,
There's no
you got to do
excuse, and
better.
that's my point. What I'm saying to you is, this is why a woman must learn to use any additional resources to do the work on herself to understand what it is to be all those things. Because if I use the excuse, then that is what it is. But if I'm saying I don't have a male role model in my life that is dependable, that I see is positive enough, that can help me make these choices, then let me go
You
another
telling me there's
avenue.
not
And a
one
lot
man
of women
in your
don't.
life,
I don't have that in my life, and I'm
not a
48.
pastor, not a coworker, not a friend, not a male that has a
I
thriving marriage
don't trust
that's winning,
any
that you
man
can
in
go
my
look
life
and like,
with
I
life
want what
Yeah,
you
I
have.
was
choices. No,
gonna say
I
maybe
don't
a
trust any
religious
man in my
group,
life to make
but
those type of life choices.
There's
if you
there's
want
no
to
way
do
there's no way
religion,
you can go through life and not 48 years of your life.
I have
Well, I'm
anything
gonna
in
say
my
this.
life.
I'm gonna say
I'm
this
not a
real
man.
quick. I'm gonna say this real quick. Most women are not attracted to the responsible male that has a decent paying job, that's okay on the aesthetics, and may not be as charming as me. But you know, the thing is, the average dude always get overlooked. So, that could be a possibility that most women overlook the average dude, man. Cause it's like, yo, the dime piece that's shopping at Walgreens, she overlooking the cashier or the dude that's boxing themselves up. Know what I mean? And that's the thing that most people overlook. You know what I mean? Well, most women overlook the average dude.
Well, I'm not basing it off of occupation. I'm just simply saying that you have access to the internet. You can go and find a mentor. You can go and find. There's couples that run their own YouTube channel that literally try to reach out to people and help. And then you got the other side of it. You got panderers that you got to watch out for. You got the Derek Jacksons and the Yadas and all that. That's gonna try to get your money and put you in a Patreon and promise you that they can find you a man. There's a risk in it. Let's believe. But if you literally read the word and show yourself approved and just follow the principles in the Bible, you can bypass all of that stuff. You'll know panderers when you see them. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these guys don't really look at the word and go off of that. They literally go off a woman's feelings. And they say,
Well,
well, he should just be able to do that because you're a woman and that's what you deserve. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
but to his point, right? So what he said, it is very common in today's world for women, to overlook what we consider, an average man. He may not be the 6'2", have the beard, the abs, the car, the money. He works at Walgreens and she's 22 working at Target, and she looks at him like he's sort of beneath her. And this is it. It's just the lack of really understanding what really is substance when it comes to aligning yourself with the right person. Because it is true, a lot of women do overlook a certain type of man, right? Because of his height, his weight, he's not as charming. But here's the deal: there are a lot of women who deal with men that ain't shit men, that have the gift of gab and do have charm, and had like very little finances or resources. And these women are madly in love and will fight you to the end of time for these men, right? So it's all really self-reflection and work. What do I place value at? And that is the ultimate problem. If you don't know where you're placing your value at as an individual, because this applies to men and women, I work with a lot of men who are used financially by women. These men are out here spending money, taking women on vacations, and these women won't even kiss these men. And they place value on, I'm not a good looking dude, right? I don't have the best body. I don't make the most money, but I'm willing to give up everything I got to keep this baddie. And even if she doesn't want to be compassionate with me, she doesn't want to make love to me, she doesn't want me long term, I'm just okay and great with having this baddie on my arm when I'm posting pictures on social media, when I'm out in public, right? Because he places value on himself based on something that she represents for him. So when a woman or a man gets into these type of situations, it's because they are misplacing their self-value, right? A woman that overlooks a halfway-looking decent man according to her particular preferences, right? She's placing value on that 6'2" man with the beard and the abs and the thing down to his ankles and the Benz parked outside because there's some kind of value that he represents to her. She's overlooking value and substance and morals and character, but she hasn't even gotten there because all she's doing is seeing. We fall for what we hear, and men fall for what they see, right? And so we don't get past those points of understanding what value really means. This is not something that's going to be overlooked. It's going to get worse. God forbid now that this man now feels rejected time and time and time and time again by women that he wants that don't want him, this then changes the man, right? A lot of these men then go into the gym heavy. Some go get a little bit of surgery. A lot of these men kill themselves trying to make money. And who do they turn into? The men that are shitting on women, good women, right? And this dynamic is a repetitive cycle. I feel like, you got to sort of work on becoming the person um, that you want to be. If you find that women are overlooking you because, let's just say, your aesthetics, right? Then you got to do something to at least enhance yourself. Eat better, sleep more, get rid of the freaking alcohol, stop vaping, stop all the weed, get yourself in a good physical active program, because a lot of this matters. A lot of people just, oh, well, I don't look a certain way. Well, then work on looking better, feeling better, developing more confidence so that you can become more charming, so you can have better conversations, so you can handle rejection a little bit better. Because if you settle for the space that you're in and you're not willing to do any work, you don't want to socialize, you don't want to go to the gym, you don't want to put down the alcohol, you don't want to put down the cigarettes, but you want what you want, and then you're upset when you don't get what you want. This applies to both men and women. So you got to change the value on you first. Because if you don't do the work, then you're going to constantly be overlooked, because that's how it works, right? I'm not saying that everything has to be put on aesthetics or a paycheck, but I'm saying that we also have to pay attention to those things. If you are in an environment, and it doesn't have to be just a bar, let's say you're a church or, maybe a birthday event that a family's having, and you lack having conversation and charm and humor, and you notice that women are attracted to that, then what kind of work are you doing to improve the qualities of those things in you? Right? Because women will fall for a man that she's not completely physically attracted to, but if you can make her laugh, and you know how to compliment her well, and you dress well, and you look like you're a healthy guy, you don't have to have a freaking six pack. You will have more chances of getting closer to getting the woman you want than if you did absolutely nothing, right? So all of that shit matters. And this is, love, what I was saying to you in the beginning, that people are just not willing to do the work. Not in that way, right? So, but when you do the work and you do invest into yourself and you do become better in all these areas, because you understand that I'm trying to become a person of self-value, confidence, high self-esteem, and quality, so that when I go out into this world to meet the person that I want to meet, right, I am operating on my maximum capacity, right? A lot of times what happens with those people is that their standards change. Now they want something
But what
beyond
you gotta understand
what
is,
they want.
and I know you want to talk, but what you gotta understand is, it's not a matter of them people don't want to do the work. I found in this past year specifically, as my numbers were starting to grow, it's not a matter of people not wanting to do the work. It's that they don't even know that there's work to be done. So they're discovering this late. A lot of people are coming from households that are not even emphasizing the importance of finding somebody compatible for a relationship. These kids are growing up and they finding this out all late during trial and error and all of these poor choices and mistakes. They're finding out afterwards that perhaps there is work to be done before you start getting into this business. So it's not a matter of they don't want to. It's the matter they don't even know that there is work to be done. So that's why
I
you got
can't agree completely to that. I can't agree completely to that, because I work with enough, I coach enough people where I'm giving them the freaking blueprint, love. I am giving them the blueprint.
Well, I wasn't asking you to
And
agree.
what
I
are
was
they
just
saying to
telling
me?
you from
I
what
don't
I
want to
work,
give up on that. I don't want to
from
give up.
my line
I
of
don't
work,
want to give
what
up my
what I've
happy hours.
experienced.
I don't want to go to the gym
All
3 days
right,
a week.
it's not a matter of who's wrong. Neither one of us can be wrong based on your data and the experiment you run. It's true, and based on mine, it's true. It's not
Right,
a matter of who's going to trump who. I'm
right.
just giving you a perspective from
From what you said.
what I've dealt with. You know what I'm saying? And I've found that a lot of people don't even know that there's work to be done. You got a lot of men and women that are being raised in single mother households, and it's not even a matter of educating these kids. It's sending these kids to school so you can go to work. And then by the time they get out of school and you get out of work, the day is over. You feed them. There is no sitting in the study or going in the den and looking at these matters that we're discussing now. They don't have time for that. So you got
Yeah,
a lot
but
of
you
it's a
know
single
what? But
motherhood crisis. You got a lot of
this
kids
is my
coming out
whole
of the high.
thing. It will be those same women and men that spend 2 hours on TikTok per day, that find time to go to 3 happy hours a week, or at least 1 week a day, 1 week a month, or 1 day a week, right? It's the same with men and women that are doing things that they know are not productive. There's never, I don't care what circumstance you give me, there is always an opportunity to improve the quality of you, right?
I'm not saying it's not an
I think we
opportunity.
let
I'm
the
just saying they
small
don't
group of
know
us.
No,
that
I
there
do
is actually
agree with
work
Is
that
it
to
a
part.
be
large
done.
group of
No, I agree
us?
with that part. Is that
That's
some
not
people don't
us.
recognize that there's work that needs to be done. I'm not going to disagree with that, right? I think it takes a moment, a tragedy, a breakup, a divorce, something to trigger, hey, something here with me needs to
And that's
change,
the bad thing.
right?
That's where people like myself have inserted themselves in this space so we can
Right.
bypass that. Because the devil don't
Like
want you to
what?
go to me first or go to your cousin first. He wants you to go out here and make as many mistakes as possible and then try. He wants you to go have a baby with Tom, Dick, and Harry. And then when you humble and you really figure out that actually I need to work on myself so I can get a relationship or work on my therapy, that's whenever you start doing the work. That's the way the devil wants to happen. He don't want you to come out here already, yeah, your mind already squared away, you know what I'm saying? You well polished, and you know what the hell you're getting into. And that's why guys like myself is important in this space because I I have the things that these men want. You know what I'm saying? I'm speaking from integrity. I'm not speaking from a place where I can't show what I have. So I'm literally trying to give guys what I have. And the way I do it is I just ask, okay, what outcomes do you want? That's the most important thing. What are the outcomes you want? Because one thing about me, I'm not gonna push what I believe or what I'm doing on people. I always start out, with what do you want? You'd be surprised. Some guys just come to me, man, I just want to be able to get any bitch I want. I mean, that's the outcome you want, then that's the outcome you want.
Yeah,
But then
that's
you got guys that actually want marriage. I'm willing to help anybody who's got a desired outcome, and I can get them from point A to point B. That's my business. I don't force nobody to take away. But if they ask me, how can I get like you? That's when the whole thing changed. That's when I start applying my principles on them and start saying, well, you can't be doing that shit you're doing now. You got to straighten up. You need to go get yourself squared away. That's whenever I start pushing what I believe on the people. I
Salute
don't
to
do
you,
that
Raz girl. I
disrespect.
see you in the building.
I mean, but this is because I coach a lot of people too that have all these different goals when it comes to their personal life, and I just a lot of people are struggling with having to do what needs to be done. It's so much easier sometimes to just say, you know what, it is what it is. This is who I am, and the constant repetitive outcome, they keep blaming it on something else, right? So I respect that proactively, people like us or anyone that we consider servants of people are out here saying, look, you got to recognize something is going on here when the common denominator in these things that are called failed relationships or marriages or whatever you're doing, there's one thing in all of this that seems to be popping up, and that's you, right? When women tell me I keep picking the same men, I tell them, show me every man I want to see, and they're all different backgrounds, but you're doing the same thing, you're causing the same outcome, and I think that reality is that in today's world, there's a lot of selfishness, a lot of entitlement. People are chasing a lifestyle. People are not chasing a true
Exactly. And,
man.
and women
You know what I mean?
never, I
People are
say
not
maybe,
chasing any of that.
I
People
would
are just
say
chasing
back
a
in the
lifestyle.
40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, back in on back, women never had an issue getting discovered as a favorable wife. It was only up until feminism came in. It's my body positivity. I do what I want with my body and all the individuality. We
Well,
creating a place where women can
it's
go
just
and
a matter of
survive on their own.
listen,
No
I
fault
can't completely
marriages,
agree with
no
that
fault.
part.
What is it called? No fault divorces came into effect,
I
and
can't
everybody
completely
wanted.
agree with
And then
that.
we just empowered promiscuity and all this other stuff. I'm
Well,
telling.
I
There's so
mean,
many things that played
I
into the
can't
factor.
agree with that. I can't. I mean, I'm always gonna
Yo,
You
stand
don't
up
you
for
yo,
don't
what.
have to. You
Yeah,
this
don't
I'm
was a
have to
saying,
agree
thing.
with it.
I'm
It's
saying
not a
This
that
was a
matter.
because
thing.
One thing you gotta understand. When I spit facts and stuff that's happening, it doesn't require you to agree on it.
right.
You can agree or disagree. It's just what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's just what's going on. But I mean, we all know that something can just happen from nothing, right? And while those things are not the most positive attributes in women, right? I'm just not gonna be the type of person that's gonna put the onus on just women. I'm gonna put the onus on both. Something occurred in this era when women were just wives and mothers. That didn't work. Something went wrong, completely very
Oh,
wrong,
it still works. So you
right?
you you
It
stated that a
worked. No,
bunch of
no, no,
times, saying it
no.
didn't
I'm
work.
not
It
saying
did
that.
work. It still
It
worked. Why do you think we got a
did.
Yo,
thriving
It
society
worked.
like
listen,
this?
I,
guys.
did it work?
This was a dope dialogue. We got to do a part 2 on this, but I'm
Amen.
getting ready to kill the live. Thank you guys so
Thank
much for
you.
coming
Thank
through.
you for the invite.
Oh yeah, yo, we gotta do this on the regular 7, man. Straight up.
Appreciate it.
I
All
mean,
right, sounds good. Thank you.
Appreciate you
word
being
up.
on the
Thanks for
panel,
coming
man. That
through.
was cool.
Good night.
Yo, it's your boy Russ signing out. Seek wisdom, practice humility, and always remain sucker free. You heard? I'm out. 1.